Welcome back to another FPL deadline stream. This is going to be very chaotic to say the least, and we did do a sort of emergency one yesterday talking about the Double Gameweek 25 announcement, but we're back answering even more FPL questions. We covered a lot already yesterday, but I'm expecting a few different ones, of course, more related to the usual FPL stuff about who to bench, who to buy and stuff like that, but just expect a lot of David Moyes, Arne Slot, AM chip questions, and I'll also talk about the graphics once again, show them very briefly if you didn't see that video yesterday, and then get straight back into the usual stuff. But it's a pleasure to see so many of you here already. Smash the like button and subscribe if you're new if you enjoy the content. Our aim is to get this to over 200 likes and to keep on pushing towards new goals like 32,000 subscribers. We're getting very close towards that milestone already, so thank you very much for your support. So let's get straight into your comments, and yeah, just show support to the channel. It costs nothing and is very much appreciated. So we're going to kick things off with the first comment, if I can find it. And very shortly, I'll put the Super Chat goal as usual. We also hit it yesterday, so also thank you very much for that. So Just My Opinion says, I'm definitely using my triple captain in Game Week 24 and the club chip, the AM, between Game Weeks 25 to 27. Yeah, I think that's also fairly sound. So with you say Iriola in 25, Purcell in 26, and Maresca in 27. That's certainly different, to say the least. Does Tsimikas start either game? If not, will he even feature? I'd be surprised if he didn't feature at all, but I've always been very off-put the likes of Robertson and Tsimikas because they rotate so much in that position. I think Kanate, Van Dijk and Trent are far better options. Contemplating starting either Tsimikas, Aït-Nouri or Akanji, what would you do? I'd chance it on Tsimikas, but if he only plays one game, Bournemouth or Everton away, it's not the best of fixtures. It's really the combination of both, and then the potential double next week, which makes Liverpool players and Arne Slot so appealing. But I'd probably chance it on Tsimikas, really. The alternatives don't have great fixtures. Yeah, I'd go for Tsimikas. Is it worth selling my third Liverpool player in Gakpo to get Slot in? I think so, especially if you can do it for free. In my case, I can actually do it for free. If I decide to take a hit, that's just to get another Everton player like Mikalenko in because I've got Veltman and Colwill in my setup, and to bench Robinson against Newcastle away potentially. But also in the case of Jaron, who mentioned Tsimikas, I think in that case in particular, I'd be very inclined to sell Tsimikas and just go for Arne Slot. I think that's a massive ceiling that you're kind of investing in. Ouattara, a good long-term shout. Evanilson back eventually, but he's been lackluster. Yes, I do like Dango Ouattara, especially if you're looking for that 5 million midfielder. So definitely, I think that's a very good shout, to say the least. I prefer Kluivert, though, if you were to go for a Bournemouth midfielder, to be quite honest with you. Cylindra says, hey Dylan, my team is Pickford, Gabriel, Hall, Trent, Salah, Mbumo, Palmer, Rodgers, Gordon, Isak, Gakpo, Joao Pedro, Kirkes, Greaves on the bench. Currently got all chips available and one free transfer, 0 million in the bank. Yeah, so look, I can't tell you exactly what to do like all the time, but in terms of your setup, I'd still be very keen to play the AM chip. So you've got Trent, Salah and Gakpo in place. The possibility for you is to go for David Moyes. That's very simple for you. If you are backing Everton to get a shocking result against Liverpool in particular, I think it's worth a punt. Then you can switch Moyes to Marco Silva, Ange Postecoglou or Unai Emery, depending on which teams reach the Carabao Cup final and which teams will blank in 29. And as a result, double in Game Week 25. But I also wouldn't mind selling Gakpo and then getting Arne Slot. I think that also looks very solid for you. You can go to Vissa. Perhaps you can even go to Ndai if you want an Everton double Game Week forward. So I think the options are there for you. I'd recommend the AM chip for a lot of people. And in your case, it's the same thing. It's just about, do you prefer Slot or David Moyes? I have a slight preference for Slot, to be honest. And I've said this all week. But it's very, very close. And I haven't made any transfers yet, but I will finalize them during the stream. Start Gordon or Wood? That's a very close one. I think I'd start Chris Wood. Start Hall or Milenkovic? Slight preference for Hall this week. What makes more sense next game week? Isak to Watkins, or a -4 to upgrade Wood to Watkins and Gordon downgrade to Ouattara Kluivert? I think both options are sensible, and I'm looking at buying Watkins myself if Liverpool and Aston Villa double in 25. Yeah, very, very sound strategy what you're talking about. I think I'd go for the -4. and sell Chris Wood and Gordon. None of them are ideal because you are selling good assets, but that's the way I'd look at it. Richard says, already played the AM on Moyes 2 days ago, half thinking I might swap to Ange or Marco if unofficial chatter about their Double Gameweek 25 paid off. Official Double Gameweek 25 news means everyone is lumping on AM now. Yeah, that can be very frustrating. For those that went early, it would have been a somewhat differential play in terms of the engaged FPL community, but no longer. Was hoping I'd have an advantage over lots of managers by risking a Double Gameweek 25, but now most engaged managers will be taking advantage by using AM this week. I lost my edge. You can still do really well though by picking David Moyes himself. A lot of people will be going for Arne Slot. I think over 40% of managers who have activated the AM chip have gone for Arne Slot, so there is still potential for you to get a lot of points and really make up some ground in your mini leagues or the rankings. Welcome Zaid, good to see you. Greenia says Kanate to Konsa for a -4 to afford Slot. Not a big fan of Konsa, but I get what you're doing there. Ultimately, the hit is to get Arne Slot in and activate the chip now. So from that perspective, I'd say yes. I'm just not particularly keen on Konsa. I think the only 2 Villa assets worth investing in are Morgan Rogers and Ollie Watkins. Yeah, Easy99, we spoke about this yesterday. A Chelsea fan hoping for Arsenal to do well. It goes to show you what FPL can do to you. Welcome, Basunu. Good to see you again today. Hey, Dylan, to free up money for Slot, would you do 8 Nuri to Mikalenko or Fernandes to Mbumo, as I mentioned previously? Yeah, they're both sound transfers. I like Mbumo a lot, but I think with Fernandes compared to 8 Nuri, yeah, 8 Nuri is kind of the weaker link, so to speak, despite some recent returns and the attacking potential for that position. I still think, yeah, I think I'd do 8 Nuri to Mikalenko, and you can always buy Mbumo in the upcoming weeks when you've got a transfer to spare. Welcome, Wei Sing. Hello, mate. No money in the bank. Surely not my week to play the AM this week. Well, I've got no money in the bank myself, but I've got 1 free transfer still available because I haven't used any this week. I still recommend it, even for a hit or making transfers. Let's say, for example, you've got 1 free transfer. You can use that to downgrade somebody to get the funds necessary for David Moyes or Arne Slot. And remember, your first selection for this chip does not use a transfer, only if you decide to go for David Moyes, and then before the deadline, you switch to Arne Slot once you've confirmed those moves. Raya, Joao Pedro, Enzo and Gordon to Pickford and Dye, Kluivert and Mbumo for free, and also AM is active on Slot. I like that a lot, and people with a lot of free transfers are in a great position right now, I have to say that. Gakpo and Hall out for Visser, Mikalenko and Slot -4, or settle just for Moyes. Both options are great. I'll be really honest with you. I like both avenues a lot, but I would recommend the Slot route for a -4 hit because you're also buying Visser, Mikalenko, although maybe in the other scenario you're also doing something similar, or at least buying one of them. Yeah, there's no news on Raya really, but Arteta said he is doubtful for the Man City game. He missed the Girona match in the Champions League, which was quite surprising to be fair. Neto didn't have a great start, then he recovered in that match, but a lot of Arsenal fans will be hoping Raya will be in goal tomorrow. If you're asking me, I think he will play, but I'm not as confident as I would have been a couple of days ago. Start Rodgers or Kluivert? Rodgers this week. Iraola to Emery versus Moyes to Emery. Thoughts? I'd rather just go for David Moyes and tackle the doubles. The main appeal of using the AM chip now is the fact that you can have essentially 5 games in 3 game weeks. There's no other period in the season where you will have that luxury. I did Virgil to Mikalenko so I could get Slot. Yeah, I mean, you replace one double gimmick option with the other, and in this context, it makes a lot of sense. Bench one between Mateta or Amad Diallo. I think I'd rather bench Diallo. Would you do Alisson for Areola to get Slot in, but will cost -8 as I've done the transfers the other day? Yeah, so you're taking an additional hit here. I think it's worth it. I was never a big fan of Alisson. The only problem is you're buying Areola. He's quite injury prone for a goalkeeper. A bit like Alisson to be fair, but you know, you might need a more reliable goalkeeper in the long term. That's all I'd say to you. But in terms of your plans to get Slot in, I think that's fairly reasonable. Hi Dylan, here's my move. Mateta to Ndai, AM Moyes, Gameweek 26, Marco Silva or Ange, and in 27 to be determined. I think that's fair. That's a very sound strategy. I'm still not fully decided yet on Moyes or Slot for my own team. I think if you look at it on paper with triple up in Liverpool, it does make sense to just go for Moyes, but I just think going for Arne Slot in my case, it just saves a transfer with the AM chip next week. and I think Liverpool will reach the final, so they'll have back-to-back double game weeks in that case. But David Moyes is a really good option, and yeah, you could also go to Emery in 26 if Spurs don't reach the final, because otherwise, yeah, Ange and Marco Silva won't have a double. Or should I do Mateta to Vissa? I think long-term Vissa is my preference over Ndiaye. If I had that Brentford slot available, I'd be very open, and in fact, I probably would have pulled the trigger already to have sold Gakpo to Vissa and then get Arne Slot. If you have all your chips, which one should you use this week? Still the assistant manager for me, in my opinion. Kluivert or Rodgers? Yeah, as covered before, Rodgers this week. Long-term, I'd rather invest in Kluivert, but bear in mind, Rodgers could have a double next week in 25, which includes Liverpool. Dr. Waleed says, if I already own Rodgers, do I sell Wood for Watkins in Game Week 25? If you can make that happen, and you're happy with your funds and your future moves as a result, yeah, I'd still recommend Watkins in for Chris Wood, assuming that Liverpool reach that final. I might as well go into that again, because maybe some people haven't seen the graphics and stuff that I showed you yesterday. Drop a like I said before, if you enjoy the content or find it useful. But let's get straight into the assistant manager talk, and let's see what more we can really delve into. So Double Gameweek 24, really easy, self-explanatory. You can see in the FPL app, Liverpool face Bournemouth and Everton away. Everton have Leicester at home and Liverpool at home. Now for Double Gameweek 25, the announcement we got yesterday, the 4 teams who blank in Gameweek 29 will have their additional fixture take place in Gameweek 25, forming a double game week. However, if Newcastle reach the Carabao Cup final, they would likely face Crystal Palace in Gameweek 33, because neither side are in a European competition, so they're not going to double in 25. All the other clubs announced that their fixture will be played in Gameweek 25, but not Newcastle or Crystal Palace. Now there is the possibility of double Gameweek 33 and or 36. We don't know fully how that's going to happen, but 6 to 8 teams are projected to blank in blank Gameweek 34, and they would double in Gameweek 33 or 36. So there is the possibility that Gameweek 36 has no doubles in the end, but that isn't clear cut. As for the blank game weeks, there is a small chance of a blank game week 37, but with 29 and 34, they're fairly locked in. So the Carabao Cup finalists, as well as their scheduled opponents in game week 29, will blank. These fixtures will be played in game week 25, with the exception of Newcastle and Crystal Palace. So there I talked about the likely teams that will blank. So I say Liverpool, Aston Villa, Newcastle and Crystal Palace, because I think Liverpool and Newcastle will reach that final. So for blank game week 34, teams that reach the FA Cup semi-final will blank in Game Week 34 due to a clash in the schedule. As a result, these teams will double in Game Week 33 or 36. There is the possibility that double Game Week 33 has up to 10 teams doubling, but I think some projections, Ben Krillin might have been one of them, said we might see between 1 to 4 and in both double game weeks in 33 and 36. But I'd urge you to go to that page and check out all the updates that he has provided, because I don't want to spread any misinformation. But that's a breakdown of all the blanks and doubles. As for 25, these are the permutations. So if Liverpool reach the Carabao Cup final, Liverpool and Aston Villa will double in Game Week 25 and blank in 29. And in this case, Liverpool would face Wolves at home and Aston Villa away next week, which is why Arne Slot is so popular as an assistant manager, whilst Aston Villa would face Ipswich Town and Liverpool at home. If Arsenal reach the Carabao Cup final, and they are 2-0 down at the moment, going to St James's Park, they would face Leicester City away and Chelsea at home, whilst Chelsea would also double, facing Brighton and Arsenal away. The other scenario, in relation to double game week 25, is with Tottenham Hotspur. If they reach that Carabao Cup final, they would face Man United at home and Fulham away, whilst Fulham face Nottingham Forest at home and Spurs at home. And like I mentioned earlier with Newcastle, their game against Crystal Palace, currently scheduled for Game Week 29, would probably go into Game Week 33 if Newcastle reach that Carabao Cup final. Now, as I'm talking here and maybe answering some questions, I'm going to show you just a breakdown of all the chips. Feel free to pause, and if you want an in-depth breakdown, and I talked about it and all of that, all the ins and outs of all the chips, check out yesterday's chip strategy guide and assistant manager video, which I did as a live stream. But as you can see on screen, all the boosters or chips are being explained in detail, but I'll pause it on the assistant manager one, because that is obviously the most confusing, the most important and relevant, I think, this week. But the wildcard remains the second most powerful chip, the free hit would be third, and the others, the bench boost and the triple captain, which are cancelable and reversible once you confirm it, they are probably the weakest chips overall, but still can be very helpful. So with the assistant manager, for those that are maybe still a bit unsure about it, I'll go through it one more time. So the assistant manager chip is all about the chosen team's performance. If your manager gets sent off, leaves the club, maybe gets booked, whatever it is, that doesn't impact your FPL points. All Premier League coaches cost between 0.5 million and 1.5 million. There are no price changes. The chip doesn't replace a player. You need money in the bank to add this assistant manager to your team. Once it's activated, the assistant manager will last 3 game weeks and you cannot use any other chips in that time. So if you're set on going for Moyes or Slot this week, you can't then triple captain Salah in game week 25, for example, or bench boost, because I think that booster or chip will look very powerful in double game week 25. You get your money back to invest in your 15-man squad at the end of the free game week period, so don't worry about that at all. The next few things to consider with this chip is the fact you can't captain the assistant manager. It is irreversible once confirmed, and it can only be used once per season. Although your first selection won't use up any free transfers, subsequent changes will. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, if you pick David Moyes to begin with, and you confirm the transfer and the chip, then you decide to switch to Slot before the Game Week 24 deadline, that costs a transfer, and if you've already exceeded the limit, that would be a -4 hit. So the free players per team also extends to this chip. So if you've got Slot, or if you want to get Slot, should I say, you have to remove one of Trent, Gakpo or Salah. You can't have 3 Liverpool players and also their manager. Now, if this chosen coach faces a club ranked at least 5 places higher in the Premier League table, you get extra points for a win or draw, and I'm going to show you the table bonus in the next slide. And if the manager qualifies for the table bonus at the start of the game week, they will remain eligible. So essentially, it's all about the beginning of the game week and how the Premier League table looks like, and that's the most important thing. So now let's break down all the points very quickly, and I have covered this, of course, yesterday in a lot of detail. So if your chosen manager / team gets a victory, you get 6 points. A draw means 3, no points for a loss, of course, and every goal scored means 1 additional point. A clean sheet means 2 points being gained, and the table bonus is so important here. So if you go for David Moyes in Game Week 24 and Everton beat Liverpool, you will get 10 points for the table bonus win, and also the 6 you normally get for a victory. So David Moyes would get 16 points for a win over Liverpool, and that's why he is a high risk, high reward play, whilst Arne Slot might offer you a higher floor and guarantee you a certain number of points, but his ceiling won't be as high as David Moyes because he's not going to get table bonus. Liverpool are top of the Premier League right now. As for table bonus in terms of a draw, you still get additional points. You get 6 points, in fact, so that will be 9 points for a draw if Everton get a result against Liverpool there and draw, let's say, 1-1. So that's also worth factoring in. A table bonus draw for a club that's eligible, of course, would match a table topping win, let's say. So it goes to show you how powerful those table bonus can be. And also in the next few sections, I'm going to show you just some assistant managers you can go for in terms of this chip. Arne Slot and David Moyes go without saying this week. I mean, I did correct certain things in terms of the fixtures, so I think this should all be correct now. In terms of if it's home or away and stuff like that, I did rectify that from yesterday's stream. So with Liverpool, as I mentioned before, it's Bournemouth away and Everton away this week. And in Game Week 25, it's Wolves at home and potentially Aston Villa away if Liverpool reach that Carabao Cup final. Then in Game Week 26, they face Man City away, where you could switch Arne Slot to another manager. And with David Moyes, of course, it's really about this double game week. And for those going for him, you will likely switch him to Ange Postecoglou, Marco Silva, or Unai Emery in Game Week 25. So the next set of managers are in relation to that double game week just mentioned. So if Spurs reach that final, Fulham would have Forest at home and Tottenham at home, and Spurs would have Man United and Fulham, with the United game being at home there. And you've also got Ipswich Town away in Game Week 26 there for Ange Postecoglou. So I'm just going to show you the graphics on screen because I did talk about this all yesterday. So feel free to pause, like I said, and rewind. Ask any questions if you still have anything that's kind of unsure. And I did add this graphic, by the way, for Unai Emery. So just to make it clear, the Aston Villa double would be Ipswich Town at home and Liverpool at home. It's something I've added from yesterday's stream. So that's something new there. And the rest will be pretty much the same with all the update graphics and everything is correct there in terms of fixtures. Of course, a lot of it's provisional. So when you see at the top left-hand corner of your screen, when it says Game Week 33/36, that means the double could either be in Game Week 33 or 36. It isn't fully penciled in yet. So that's why I've made that quite clear in the top left-hand corner of your screen. But that pretty much concludes the graphics from yesterday, all updated and all in order. Smash the like button if you found this useful, and also just put your questions in, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and you can follow me on all social media platforms. So, best Gameweek 26 manager for AM. Ange Postecoglou could be decent. I mean, there is no table bonus there. Iraola would be very appealing, and in fact, before the Double Gameweek 25 announcement, I was going to make a dedicated slide to Iraola if you wanted to go a bit different, you know, with the fixture against Liverpool at home in Gameweek 24, where you can get some table bonus if Bournemouth get a win or a draw. Then you've got Southampton and Wolves, so I think Iraola would be particularly appealing. Maresca and Arteta are fairly decent too. So yeah, I think Iraola would be my favourite. No, you can't have negative balance in the bank. No, you can't. You need extra money to invest in that manager on top of your 15-man squad, which I've made clear in the slides as well. SOCLH says, hey Dylan, I already used triple captain on Haaland and misclicked bench boost last week. Thank God for Lissandro 15-pointer. Wow. AM 25, free hit 33, and wildcard 35 is my chip strategy. Thoughts? Yeah. So that's something I also delved into more so in yesterday's stream. And I did highlight Gameweek 29 and 34 as two of the best weeks to free hit. You can use it in a double game week. So it all depends on the context. Because you've already used the bench boost, and I would have recommended either Gameweek 33 or 36, preferably the biggest double game week of the two. But since you've used that already, I think what you've gone for is absolutely fine. A lot of people will wildcard around Gameweek 30 to 32, but you can be different about it, and it all depends on how your team looks like by that stage. If you get injuries, suspensions, or other factors playing a part beforehand, you might pull the trigger even earlier, but I like that. Wood versus Ndai. I have Wood, but wondering whether to use my free transfer to get Ndai in or hold and use later. I'll be honest, the only reason I'm considering buying Ndai for either Gakpo or Chris Wood is to fund the AM chip on David Moyes or Arne Slot. Otherwise, I'd be fairly happy to keep Chris Wood for now. Why Gameweek 25 is double? I literally covered that earlier, mate. So the Carabao Cup finalists in Gameweek 25, 29, of course, there is a clash, and those fixtures are brought forward to Gameweek 25. If you just rewind, it's all explained there in the slides. Gakpo is scheduled to go up in price again, 479% chance. It's crazy. He's the most transferred in player this week. He got 16 points in Gameweek 23, and now a lot of people are looking to sell him to get Arne Slot. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Took a -8 to bring in Slot. You're not the only one. A lot of people will be doing something similar this week. Is it worth doing Gordon to Mbumo or just roll for this week? I'd keep Gordon in this case because, well, obviously Newcastle can't double in 25, but with all the uncertainty flying around, I'd rather focus transfers on doublers or potential doublers in 25. Hey Dylan, I have Salah, Van Dijk and Slot and have a free transfer, so should I do Van Dijk to Trent or save that free transfer? I fear Trent. I mean, if you're happy with your team and it's a luxury you can afford, I would recommend Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Van Dijk is still very solid, and in double game weeks, he sometimes ends up being the best Liverpool defender, but I'll be honest, I'd probably keep and save the transfers for other doublers in 25, for example, but that's just my opinion. JP says bench one of Gabriel, Milenkovic, Hall and Rodgers. Out of those players, I think it's going to be Milenkovic on the bench. It's a close one, though. Very close one. All right, so before I go back into your questions, and just for those asking why they're not highlighted, it's because it's a different screen and I wanted to show the graphics in detail. So once I go back to the usual ones, you will see the chat highlighted, but either way, I think it's quite clear. Let's go to actually my predictions. That's what I want to do. Let's go to the predictions. So I have updated them compared to what I did recently. Is this the updated one? Let's double check. I think it is. Yeah, this is the updated one. It's all in order. So I've gone for Forest 1, Brighton 1, Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 2, Everton 2, Leicester City 1. Originally I went for a 2-0 Everton win. Ipswich Town 3, Southampton 2, Newcastle 2, Fulham 1, Wolves 2, Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 2, Manchester City 1. I'm not too sure about that, especially if Ryan misses out tomorrow. Chelsea 3, West Ham 1, and then Everton 1, Liverpool 1. And based on these projections and my predictions, you'd probably expect David Moyes to be a decent punt in Gameweek 24, to say the least, for the assistant manager chip. But yeah, that's what I've gone for at the moment. And if I also can go to the captaincy very quickly, nothing's changed in terms of the top 10, which I delved into in my Transits podcast. Salah for me is undoubtedly top. And for those that aren't using the AM chip, I think going for Salah as a triple captain could be a nice differential, so to speak. And some of you watching might go for Salah triple captain in Game Week 24 and then use the assistant manager chip in Game Week 25, which could also work very well, by the way. So Trent is second, Gakpo third, Palmer and Isak complete the top 5 despite only having a single game week. Van Dijk, Diaz, Mbeumo, Watkins and Ndai complete the top 10. This is just like a ranking. There might be a player or two that you could argue should be in there. Morgan Rogers perhaps could be a really good option despite the price tag, but I would favour Ollie Watkins in most game weeks there for the captaincy. And the likes of Haaland and Arsenal players, of course, they're facing each other. That isn't clear-cut, let's say, but I've gone for this top 10 for the rankings. Let's now go back to the usual screen, and then later on I'll show you some projected price changes and the usual stuff, of course. But let's get into your questions. Why is Gabriel and Palmer scheduled to go down in price? Well, a lot of people are selling these assets for double gimmick options, or, I mean, in the case of Palmer, I think it's just the poor performance against City and the blank, but I do think that's very reactionary to say the least. I'd still recommend keeping him, but I think in a lot of scenarios, I can imagine downgrading Palmer gives the funds available to go for the AM chip or make other transfers like Trent at the back, maybe Gakpo up front as well. But Gabriel's an interesting one, and both players could double in Game Week 25 if Arsenal make that comeback against Newcastle in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. Gabriel or Aina? Probably Gabriel. Start Wood, Ahmad or Rodgers? It's between Wood and Rodgers. I think Ahmad is at the bottom of that list. I've got a good feeling about Rodgers, but I'll probably stick with Chris Wood here. Start Chris Wood, Ahmad or Kluivert? Chris Wood. Army Any says, hi Dylan, struggling to let go of Foden, 55 points since Game Week 19. Do I keep until he blanks, or take my huge rank gain and move on? It's a good question. I'd personally move him on if you can, but it's only if you are buying a midfielder you're really confident in, like Brian Mbeumo long term, or perhaps you're buying a player you expect to double in Game Week 25. It could be from Liverpool, for example, or Aston Villa. It all depends on that context, but yeah, if you're happy with the replacement, I'd recommend doing that. And it could also give you the extra money necessary for other moves, such as Arne Slot or David Moyes this week. Adimac83 says, morning mate, is it viable not to play any chips at all this week? And also, would you start Kluivert or Dibbling? Yeah, look, there's not one set way of playing the game. I just think with back-to-back doubles, and this is being the only opportunity where you get 5 game weeks, you know, in that free game week, 5 games in the free game week period, it makes the AM chip even more powerful. The ceiling is raised even further, and I just don't see a better time to use that particular booster, on paper at least, based on the quantity of fixtures. But yeah, there is the possibility to play no chips at all this week, but I think if you've got the triple captaincy, I'd be tempted to use it this week if you are very set on not using the AM. That is all team dependent, of course. Also, your other question, yeah, I'd go for Kluivert over Dibbling. That goes without saying. Start Rodgers or Kluivert? Rodgers this week. Triple up on Everton, Mikalenko, Pickford and Ndai? That's fine. In terms of the best triple up, that's what I discussed in my Transits podcast, so I'm not going to go back on that now. It's just with David Moyes and the Double Gameweek 25 announcement, of course, that would be even more appealing, I'd say. But if you're going for Arne Slot, that's absolutely fine. Hey matey, play one of Gavardio, Robinson or Rodgers. It's going to be Rodgers without a doubt for me. On paper at least, it looks like a really solid play against Wolves away with no Joao Gomez. I think you could really punish them. Mbeumo captain, he is in my top 10. I think he's 8th actually in the list I just showed you. In terms of single gamic options, he's probably 3rd or 4th for me. Only Palmer and Isak would be above him in the pecking order. Should I sell Gakpo to Ndai for free and get Slot in, or just keep Gakpo and bring Moyes in? I'm in the same boat as you. At the moment, I'm leaning towards selling Gakpo and getting Arne Slot, because, let me actually show you, I think that's probably the best thing to do. So these are the 2 alternatives. I can get Arne Slot in as my assistant manager, sell Gakpo to Ndai, keep Chris Wood and Isak for now, because Isak to Watkins in Game Week 25 could be very popular, and I can buy Mikalenko for Veltman, which is really just a luxury transfer, you could say. Maybe I decided, you know what, I'm just going to stick with my three defenders. I go for Trent, Robinson, and Colwill, let's say, and I don't take a hit. But the alternative is to buy Mykolenko for Veltman. Like I said, that's a luxury. I can bring David Moyes in by downgrading Chris Wood to Ndai. Unfortunately, I can't go to Visser because I've got 3 Brentford players already in Valdimarsson, Vandenberg, and in Mbeumo. But let's actually go to fpl.team so you can visualize Game Week 25 as well with those provisional transfers I just mentioned. So if I were to go for David Moyes, my team would look like something like this for Game Week 25. It's decent, and here we could put Anthony Gordon in for Ndai, for example. I've got a double up in, well, sorry, I've got 1 Everton defender in Mykolenko. I've got David Moyes there still. So tripling up on Everton, doesn't look great in the long term. And to be honest, if I do go for David Moyes as the AM, as the assistant manager, I'd likely swap him out, and that would use a free transfer. So in this case, I'd probably go to Emery, assuming that Liverpool reached the final, and then both Villa and Liverpool double there. And if I wanted to get Watkins in, or Morgan Rogers, that would mean a -4 hit, which I'm not particularly happy about in my case. The alternative, though, I could buy Ollie Watkins next week, and I can just sell Isak to Watkins, but the rest of the starting 11 looks fairly decent, and I've got Arne Slot in place already, who will likely have a double by that stage. That's what I'm predicting, and that's why I'm backing him so much as a good assistant manager choice, safe, secure, and I think he's going to get a decent amount of points there at least. So look, it's not a massive difference to be fair, and even the predicted points reflects that from fpl.team. But I am leaning towards going for Arne Slot there. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. But before I go back into your questions, and that will be the main focus of the stream, of course, let's go through some different screens. Liverpool, Everton, Arsenal, Fulham, and Spurs are in the top 5. Basically, all the teams that could have a double in 25 are near the top. And if we look at those near the bottom, Man City, Forest, Newcastle, Leicester, and Southampton. As for predicted points for players, we've got Salah top, Gakpo, Trent, Diaz, Palmer, Alisson, Szoboszlai, Pickford, Van Dijk, and Konate in the top 10. Somewhat similar when you look at the top 5 compared to what I talked about for the best captaincy options this week, but the rest is a lot different. They're very bullish on the Everton and Liverpool players, whilst I've only got 1 Toffees option in Ndai in that list. So this is where this might help you actually with your choice of AM. So over the next 3 game weeks, Slot is top with 31.7 predicted points, which is by far the highest of any manager. Marco Silva, Emery, Arteta, Ursula, Iraola, and then David Moyes are in the top 7, and these are the rest of the names: Postecoglou, Guardiola, Maresca, Juric, Eddie Howe, Pereira, Thomas Frank, Van Nistelrooy, Glasner, McKenna, Amorim, Potter, and Nuno Espirito Santo. That is the order according to Fantasy Football Hub. But look, if you look at Game Week 24 specifically, which is what most people would be buying Moyes for, he's very close to Arne Slot actually. Only a 0.8 difference in terms of expected points, 13.1 for Slot and 12.3 for David Moyes. But if you do go for the Everton manager, you can then swap him to Emery, Postecoglou, or Silva, depending on who doubles in Game Week 25, and chase the table bonus that way. So you've got a higher ceiling, but also a higher risk by going for those picks. Arne Slot gives you almost a guarantee, I think, of a certain amount of points on the board and a few victories. So as for projected price changes, Gakpo is top. I mean, he's going to go up in price tonight. I might sell him still if I go for the Arne Slot route. Ndai, Pickford, Konate, Kluivert, Szoboszlai, Mykolenko, and Tarkowski also projected to rise. At the moment, there could be further changes, and price falls galore. Mateta, Gabriel, Jimenez, Estupinian, Joao Gomez, Baleba, McAteer, Strand Larsen, Colwill, who's in my team, Fabian Schär, and many more are going to be projected to rise and fall, but just bear in mind, it's not going to be fully accurate at this point of the day, and once we get closer to the actual time where these changes happen, that's where we can really judge it fully. So at Draft Town, they're recommending Chris Wood to Ndai right now. Earlier in the week, they were talking about Veltman out for Mykolenko, which I was on board with. That was my original plan, which I discussed in yesterday's team selection video, but everything changed with that announcement. I put some polls out as well, and Veltman to Mykolenko was leading the vote, of course, and this was from several days ago, in fact, towards the beginning of the week. Second was Sells to Pickford, which I'm just not going to do at this point. Chris Wood to Ndai, and 2 of the transfers for a -4 hit. Another poll was in relation to which downgrade should I make to fund Arne Slot or David Moyes. Gordon to Rodgers is top, almost half of the votes. Chris Wood to Ndai is second, and then Gordon to Kluivert is third. I've already got Semenyo, so I don't think that helps matters too much. And another poll I put out, which is quite similar, Gakpo to Ndai and getting Slot in has 59% of the vote, whilst Gordon to Rodgers and getting Moyes has 41%. It would be closer, I think, if the alternative was Chris Wood to Ndai, for example. But remember, Rodgers could double in Game Week 25. Another poll I put out is just another transfer I found that I could do. And in fact, I could do Robinson to Mikalenko, by the way, or Trent, but I don't want to do that. And that funds the necessary, it gives me the necessary funds to get David Moyes in. And it means I don't take a hit, and I have 2 Everton assets in Moyes and Mikalenko, as well as my Liverpool triple up in Gakpo, Salah and Trent. So that's something I'm also weighing up. But the top option here, voted by you lot, is Gakpo to Ndai and getting Slot in. In second would be Gordon to Rodgers and bring in Moyes. And the other options also include bringing in the Scottish manager, but different avenues of achieving that. So as you can see, the community are conflicted, I'm conflicted. It's going to be very difficult to choose between David Moyes or Arne Slot. I just think Slot is probably the better option on paper, but it's trickier to get there if you've got 3 Liverpool players already. Let's now look at a stats comparison and talk about players for once. And Gakpo versus Trent might be an odd comparison because one's a forward, the other one is a defender, but the stats are actually quite similar in a lot of metrics. So XG, of course, Gakpo is comfortably ahead and big chances, but the expected assists, Trent is abundantly clear. Even in terms of shots, Trent isn't too far off, and Gakpo doesn't have great underlying numbers, but he's a great finisher from outside the box, and he's been scoring clutch goals for Liverpool, especially in the last 10 game weeks or so. I think Gakpo is a very solid option, but only 1 goal away from home this season, and that came against West Ham in a 5-0 win. So I did show you fpl.team earlier, and I don't think FPL Challenge will be on anyone's mind right now, but I'm going to show you very quickly what I've come up with, and you can use the AM chip as part of the challenge this week. That is what it's called, the Assistant Manager Game Week 1. I've gone for Arne Slot here, with Pickford in goal, Trent, Van Dijk, Tarkowski, Salah, Diaz, Palmer, Mbumo, Isak, and Ndai. Very solid team. I might go for Gakpo up front, especially if I sell him in my normal FPL team to kind of cover him in some way, shape, or form, although it's not ideal. But yeah, that's something I'll probably lock in or talk about after this is done. Let me actually go back to my team and set up the goal very quickly for the super chats and see what we can come up with there. And keep on plugging away at the likes. Our aim is to get this to over 200 likes overall, and also to get to 32 subscribers fairly soon. So let's get this up as well. And your questions will be the main focus, of course, for the duration of the stream. But if you did miss any of those graphics or key pieces of information, feel free to go back and have a look yourself, because yeah, I think that will be the best way to consume the information. And if you've got any questions from that point, you can then ask me and we can clarify anything that you're unsure about. So yeah, that is all set up. Thank you to the moderators, by the way, for keeping things rolling. That is very much appreciated, to say the least. And let's now get the chat back up. So Annie says, I have triple Liverpool and 0 Everton. I have enough money to get Slot, Emery, Ange next week. So should I get Moyes this week and wait for the double game week fixtures for next week? Yeah, in your case, you make a very good point. That's probably the best avenue for you. It keeps your options open. If you're confident of Everton getting a result against either Leicester or Liverpool, especially in that Merseyside derby, that's got a really high ceiling for you. So that looks like the best option. I already have Pickford. Should I also do Gabriel, Aina to Mikalenko, or just roll? I wouldn't be selling Gabriel. He might double in Game Week 25. As I mentioned in yesterday's stream, my advice would be not to sell any Arsenal, Chelsea, Fulham, Spurs, or of course Liverpool and Aston Villa players if you can. Aina to Mikalenko is okay, I guess, but I definitely wouldn't sell Gabriel. I'm so unsure on whether to triple captain Salah or get Slot in to have 5 times double game weeks or 5 games in 3 games, along with the assistant manager. Such a headache. Yeah, definitely. It's a really, really close one, actually. well, I say close one. I think the AM chip has really surpassed it with that Double Gameweek 25 announcement. Beforehand, I think there was a debate, and I think triple captain is where I would have lent, but I just don't see a better time to use it in terms of the quantity of fixtures, and maybe it falls flat on its ass, especially if you go for, let's say, David Moyes this week, and it just goes horribly wrong, because it can do with these high-risk, high-reward approaches. Thank you, John Paul. A shout-out to the new visuals on the channel, Dylan. Bring in Mikolenko for Van Dijk to allow Slot as AM this week. Very much appreciated, mate. I probably would. And I like Van Dijk a lot. He was actually ranked highly in my top 10 captaincy options, which I showed earlier. But I just think Arne Slot is a great opportunity here in Game Week 24. Sell Diaz or Gakpo to get Slot. Slight preference for selling Diaz. You could argue, though, the replacements for Diaz are better than the Gakpo replacements, but I mean, what we're talking about, Visser, maybe to replace Gakpo, Ollie Watkins if you've got the funds, but yeah, if you don't have enough money, you just have to downgrade, of course, and that makes it even more difficult. But yeah, on paper, it's probably Diaz out. Yeah, I'd show my plans earlier. I'll show them one more time, probably. So let's actually go through that. I've got two avenues here, because I'm very set on using the AM chip this week. Okay. Let's see if I can actually get this to work. Apologies, but my technology is bugging out here, to say the least. Hopefully that starts working. Okay, there we go. Just a bit finicky. All right, so if we go to fpl.team, which is the best way to visualize this. So in Game Week 24, my David Moyes route is bringing him in, and the way to fund it is downgrading Chris Wood to Ndai. Buying Mikolenko for a hit is just a luxury, let's say, to sell Veltman, who is pretty much useless. Cole was another one on the chopping block, Vandenberg too, but I bolster my defensive line for this week at least, get another doubler. I've got triple up in Liverpool and a triple up in Everton with Mikolenko, Ndai and David Moyes. The alternative is to get Arne Slot, but it means selling Gakpo, and I can still buy Mikolenko for a -4 hit, but that isn't necessary, and I buy Ndai for Cody Gakpo, one for the funds to get Arne Slot, and two to free up that Liverpool slot. So that is pretty much my choices. Those are my choices. I would rather go for Visser than Ndai, but I don't have that Brentford spot available. Gordon to Rodgers is another shout, but of course that's still not a fully confirmed double in Game Week 25, of course. So those are my avenues. I am leaning towards this one and getting Arne Slot in, but it's not set in stone. I'm just backing Liverpool to win, I'd say 3 of the next 4 games, even if that includes Aston Villa away. And I think 1 or 2 clean sheets can be kept there, and they can score goals in every single one of those games. I actually don't think they'll lose any of the next 4. I think they'll draw 1 and win 3. So in my predictions, I did say 1-1 against Everton. That means David Moyes would be a good option, and he would get table bonus for the draw. But ultimately, it's about predictions. Football's unpredictable. There could be a big shock in there. And maybe one of Arne Slot or David Moyes absolutely flops. Like, there could be a massive swing. I really hope I'm on the right side of it. But you just never know in FPL, and you just have to hope the luck is on your side for the week. I'm a Spurs fan, and if Tottenham qualify for the cup final, then I might go Slot to Ange in 25. We are 15th, good for table bonus, and I do see an improvement happening with players back. Yeah, I think if Spurs were to do that, and it would be very unlikely, but it's possible. Football is a funny game. That would be massive, I think. And also, reaching that final, having players back, it could be a massive morale boost, and Spurs could then go on a run in the Premier League, at least for the short term, which is enough to get those table bonus and a massive haul with your assistant manager chip. So that's why I think the ceiling is so massive by activating it in Game Week 24. Yet Calvert-Lewin is out. The same goes for McNeil. Unfortunately, Mangala also suffered an ACL injury. So yeah, the fortuitous thing for Everton is that James Garner just returned from injury, so that he can cover for Mangala. But yeah, with Calvert-Lewin, he is out. So I'm not sure how many weeks it is or months, but Game Week 24 is not an option. I'd be looking to sell him if you got him. Ndai would be a simple replacement, let's say. Done Raul for Ndai -4. Well, Jimenez could double in 25, but that ultimately depends on Spurs reaching the Carabao Cup final. But ultimately, I think Ndai For a hit, not ideal, but I might do the same thing myself, whilst also buying Mikalenko. The AM chip is the priority. Murphy out for Mbumo? Yeah, I'd say so, but I think the priority has to be those potential doublers in 25, and Mbumo isn't one of them, or the double right in front of you in Game Week 24. If you're happy with your team and you think you can afford to do this move, I think Mbumo is a great long-term transfer. I wouldn't use the free hit chip this week, so rewind the stream and you can see the breakdown of all the chips. In the slide itself, I do explain or give like tidbits about the times I would use each one. So my current strategy is to use the AM chip now in Game Week 24, free hit in either Game Week 29 or 34, and wildcard between Game Week 30 and 32. It could be later in the season, to be fair. And the bench boost would be in either Game Week 33 or 36. For those of you with the triple captaincy, I'd also be using it in one of those doubles I just mentioned in Game Week 33 or 36. There is the possibility that 36 has no doubles, but that isn't set in stone. And yeah, I've already used my triple captaincy back in Game Week 2. Play Greaves or Kirkes or Robinson. The first one has the best fixture of the lot, but not really too keen. I think this week I'd probably chance on Greaves, but I did go for a 3-2 win for Ipswich Town. Assistant manager chip activated on Moyes. I subbed out Mateta for Vissa. Good luck, mate. Looks like a very decent plan. I wish I could get Vissa. -4 Gabriel to Tarkovsky. No. Triple captain Salah, thoughts? If you are set on using the triple captain, yeah, I think Salah this week or the next looks really solid, but yeah, I just think the AM chip is the most powerful, the most important. If you just don't want to use it now, that's fair enough. I think triple captain on Salah is fine. It's a differential play, and it could work in your favour big time. I am planning AM on Moyes. What's the upside on that? The table bonus, which I mentioned before. If Everton beat Liverpool, you get 16 points for a win from David Moyes alone. If they keep a clean sheet, 2 extra points, that's 18. Let's say they score a goal, that's 1 point, 19 overall. So from that 1-0 win against Liverpool, which isn't impossible, they did beat them 2-0 back in April last season, you can get a massive swing there in your favour. Start one between Robinson, Hall and Greaves. Probably Lewis Hall here. Is Wood to Ndai worth it if it means a -8 for the next Game Week's planned transfers? Not too sure about that. I'm only looking to get Ndai to fund the AM chip in general, so I'd probably say no. Do you think Trent out for Slot is worth it? Trent is actually easy to get more points than Slot. Not too sure about that, because it's also the doubling Game Week 25, which Liverpool will likely get, and of course Trent will also be involved in that. But with Arne Slot, no risk of rotation, of course. I think Trent will start all of the games pretty much, maybe one benching out of the next 4 or 5 matches, but we'll wait and see, of course, on that. But like I mentioned before, the AM chip is so powerful, and the quantity of fixtures makes it very appealing now. I think we should go safe for AM. Everton got something against Liverpool. I think it's too much. Well, there is no right or wrong. It varies week on week. In certain game weeks, it's going to be better to go secure and go for the Arne Slot. In others, go for the high risk, high reward approach. And when it pays off, you get a massive swing in your favour. But I don't think there's a right or wrong approach. But there could be a massive swing, that's for sure. I would start Lewis Hall over Munoz there, John. Start 2 from Ahmad, Rogers, Wood. Also start Flecken or Sells. I'd start Sells and I'd go Chris Wood and Rogers, benching Amad Diallo in the process. And for your final question, it would be Mikalenko, who's got a double game week, Lewis Hall and Gabriel. Alex says, unsure why the triple captain Salah. Yeah, as I mentioned before, for me, it's going to be the AM chip. I think that's the best one. But if you're still really bullish on Salah, I don't blame you. Once again, with the triple captaincy, if Salah gets 20 points, you're gaining 20 points over what you would have originally done with the triple captaincy, because you would have captained him anyway, I'm assuming. With the AM chip, I think the ceiling is even higher, especially if you go for David Moyes and it pays off. Sell Diaz for a Bournemouth mid plus slot AM or triple captain Salah. Well, if you're selling Diaz for a Bournemouth mid, that only means you're opening up that Liverpool slot for Arne Slot. So, yeah. I do like the Bournemouth mid. That could be Ouattara, Kluivert or Semenyo. My preference being the Dutch winger. So I think Kluivert's the best one. And I'd recommend slot AM. They're all viable options, though. I think Salah triple captain is a very solid choice. That's what I was recommending for the last couple of weeks, but now things have changed. If you use AM on a slot, how long will it last? 3 game weeks, which was covered earlier. Rewind the stream or check out yesterday's chip strategy guide and assistant manager video / live stream, and it's all covered there. Triple captain this week, AM next week on Emery for a -4. That also works. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way of playing it. I'm probably very bullish on just using the chip now, though. Who to bench between Harwood, Bellis, and Greaves? Harwood, Bellis benched. I would start Gordon over Amad Diallo there, Niraj. From those 3 options, I might actually go for Gordon on the bench there, Eli. Thought Rodgers, but he's just scored a hat-trick. I was actually quite bullish on Rodgers before that hat-trick was scored, so I recorded the wildcard video on Wednesday morning before the Champions League games took place, and I mentioned Rodgers. It was between him or Amad Diallo for that kind of 5th midfield spot. And yeah, I think now, of course, people will be even more bullish on him. That makes sense. With João Gomes suspended in that Wolves-Aston Villa game, I just think there's a lot to like there. I'm planning to go Wood to Ndiaye for a -4. Since I don't want to lose Gakpo, going to do a -4 for Moyes AM. I get that, and I also don't want to lose Gakpo. I mean, I've been bigging him up for the last couple of weeks. He got a big return for me. It would be kind of weird to then sell him, and he also gets a price rise tonight, but you have to prioritize. You can't have it all. Slot in. Yeah, Gakpo to Vissel would be a nice option, in my opinion. If you can go to Watkins, that's ideal, but that all depends on your budget. Gordon to Mbumo. Also, what about taking a hit and bringing it in Ndiaye for Wood as well? I'd only take a hit for Ndiaye in for Wood if that funds the other moves. I wouldn't be doing it otherwise. But yeah, the other moves you're talking about are fine. I'd probably keep Gordon for now and reassess, and you can always bring Mbumo in future weeks, but the priority has to be double game week 24 and 25, because otherwise you'll probably take a lot of hits, which can still work out, but the chance will be even slimmer with each -4 you take. Yeah, for Danny, so just rewind the stream. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just I've covered it all already in detail in yesterday's stream and also today. Essentially, we got the double game week 25 announcement on Friday morning, and that has completely changed the game because we will have essentially back-to-back double game weeks assured. It's just about which teams will double in game week 25, and that all depends on who reaches the Carabao Cup final, and those game week 29 blanks will be brought forward to game week 25, with the exception of Newcastle versus Crystal Palace, if Newcastle were to reach the Carabao Cup final. So if you just rewind the stream, all the slides are playing one after the other. You can pause it and see all the information there, and I do talk about it as well. I think with Rodgers there could be an issue of fatigue. Villa have performed poorly post the Champions League game. That's something I've been highlighting all season. I'm not the only one. I think it was a general consensus that Villa would maybe struggle this season with that balance between Champions League and Prem. They started fairly well, but once the Champions League kicked in, you could definitely see a drop-off, and in games like Ipswich Town earlier this season, you could see that sometimes having that Champions League game really took their focus away and also their energy levels away from the Premier League, so that's a good point. Hi Dylan, start one, Munoz, Gabriel or Robinson, thank you. It's probably Gabriel for me. Attacking threat, he got a goal against City last time out, and Arsenal still have one of the best defences in the league, albeit they're facing a very good Man City attack. Start Hall or Konsa, and Kluivert or Rodgers. I'd go for Lewis Hall and Rodgers. Is it possible to start Trent, Salah, Gakpo? No. Also covered earlier, you can only have 3 players from the same team, and the manager also counts as that, so you can't have 4 of them. Start 1, Rodgers, Ahmad, Sarr, Van den Berg. From those players, I'd start Rodgers. I think it's probably worth going to the graphic again, by the way. So let's go to the assistant manager slide here. I'm going to let it play out. So all the information is here once again. I've already gone through it myself in 2 streams. So just pause it like I said, and then you can always go back to the live section to catch up on what I'm saying. But everything that you see on screen is relevant to Game Week 24, 25, and the future. All the boosters or chips are covered, and the same goes for the assistant manager in detail with a table bonus talked about, and potential manager opportunities for that chip as well later in the season and also for the next 3 game weeks. Should I do Joao Pedro to Watkins? He'll probably double next game week, so why not buy him now? I mean, why not buy him now is because there is still a chance that Spurs reach the final and then Liverpool and Villa don't double next week, and then you're thinking, maybe I don't want Watkins that much actually beyond Game Week 25 anyway. But Yeah, I'm very confident Liverpool will reach the final and Watkins will double next week. The other one, which is less likely, is the fact that Watkins is linked with a move away. I think that's less likely now with Duran leaving the club. Emery said that they're going to try to keep him and Watkins wants to stay. But those would be the two reasons why, if I had to give a counter argument. I think you should be fine, though, if you go for Watkins early. Who to bench between Welbeck and Dibbling? Probably Dibbling here. Do likes help you in terms of YouTube revenue? No, but it does. I mean, it doesn't directly help, let's say, but it does push you up in the algorithm. It also, let's say, yeah, it recommends this video to more people. So that's why, obviously, the likes do help. And I appreciate those that do smash the like button, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Slotting Gakpo out for who? Money is not a problem. Mateta, Watkins an option. Yeah, Watkins will be the preference out of the two now. I was very bullish on Mateta a few weeks ago, but with Villa likely doubling in 25 and Watkins showing some great form across all competitions, I think Watkins is the standout there. No problems for Danny, and hopefully the graphics on screen are helping you. Jackson to Vissa, or now hold Jackson for one more week? I'd hold him for one more week. It's also West Ham at home. I'm not a big fan of Jackson. I think this is an upgrade, and you're getting more money in the bank, but I think having extra transfers is so important. I wish I had 3 or 4. I'd be in a great position right now if that was the case. Start Ahmad or Sarr? Ahmad. Start Robinson, Kirkes, or Nico Williams? Probably Nico Williams. Would you sell Alisson to Kepa or Diaz to Rodgers to get Slot? Diaz to Rodgers is my preference there. Hi Dylan, should I do Gakpo to Ndai for free or Gakpo to Vissa for a -4? I mean, ultimately, what you'd probably do is sell Ndai to Vissa or another striker in the future anyway, but you could also do that for free by that stage. I think from how you've presented it, I'd go for Ndai for now, because it's free. And you get an extra fixture this week, of course. If I have 2 Liverpool, should I go for Slot? Yeah. Foden to Mbumo, worth it. If that funds the other move, then certainly I think it's worth it. I'd go for Arne Slot. But Mbumo is a great long-term transfer. I would start Rodgers over Ahmad there. Who should I sell Van Dijk for? Already have Mikalenko, says Rodrigo Mendes. I think Kirkes long-term is a great transfer. Not a great entry point this week against Liverpool. The alternatives would be potential doublers in 25. So if you're backing Spurs to reach the final, Robinson from Fulham would have a double. Maybe a Spurs defender, although I don't recommend that personally. If you're backing Liverpool to reach the final, maybe Konsa would be another one. But yeah, it's slim pickings, I'd say, because even Lewis Hall, for example, I think the boat has kind of sailed in terms of buying him. If you got him and invested from quite a while ago, then you can definitely keep. But I think Kirkes long-term or Howson would be very good investments. So before I go back to the screen and highlight your messages and stuff like that, let's actually, well, you know what? Let's see if I can just bring them in here as well. Let's see. Okay. Hopefully that works. Okay. Kluivert, Morgan, Rodgers, Mateta, bench 1. Kluivert, reluctantly. I'd definitely start Rodgers from those 3. Then it's a close call. I can't get Watkins. I already have Mbumo. Do I still get Vissa or other options like Ndai? This is my preference long term, yeah. And let me actually edit this on the fly. Yeah, let's do that. But yeah, either way, I'm going to go back to my FPL team soon, and I need to lock in my squad because I don't want to leave this last minute with a decision as big as this in terms of who to pick for the assistant manager. Yeah, I don't even want to think about last minute decisions there. But it's probably inevitable considering the overthinking I can do in this game. Start 2, Gabriel, Rodgers, Ahmad, Milenkovic. Rodgers and Gabriel. To be fair, actually, you know what? I'd actually consider starting Ahmad over Gabriel. Yeah, I'd go for Rodgers and Ahmad. Play 1, Robinson, Murillo, or Burn. Murillo. Fairly soon, hopefully, Mohit. I can't guarantee when, but I also just want to have it fully set in which path I want to take. As I mentioned before, I would likely go for Arne Slot, but there is still a chance to go for David Moyes. I'm keeping my options open. With the Moyes route, I look better for Double Gameweek 24 on paper, but longer term, I think I'm a bit weaker. Whilst with Arne Slot, I probably save a transfer. I can easily buy Watkins and maybe take hits for players instead and have more doublers for Double Gameweek 25. Jack Parslow says, is it worth a -4 to do Gakpo to Ndai and slot in? Yeah, I think so. Hello, Sarr versus United or Dibbling versus Ipswich? It's a close one, but probably Ismaila Sarr. Start 1, Robinson, Colwill, Kirkes, please. Colwill. Moyes, Asman, very good option. More so for Gimmick 24. I think if you go in that direction, you'll likely swap him out for Gimmick 25 and go for another doubler. The thing with Arne Slot that I like is the fact that you can keep him for Gimmick 25 if Liverpool reach that final, because they would have back-to-back double game weeks. Hi Dylan, Moyes AM this week, then Slot in the next week. Yeah, that is also a very reasonable strategy, to be fair. And I think that also is more... It makes a lot of sense for those with a lot of free transfers. In my case, I've only got one, so I'd rather not take hits, you know, take a hit now this week if I want to get Mykolenko as well, and then buy David Moyes, and then sell Moyes to Emery, let's say, next week for another hit. Thank you, Largo. I appreciate the kind words. John Paul says, appreciate the early advice. Who to bench between Smith Rowe and Robinson this week? I think Newcastle will score, but Robinson always has that assist threat, and of course Smith Rowe plays in an advanced position, but Robinson is so key to Fulham's creativity. Very, very close one. I think I'd favour Robinson, but not by much. I'd start Gabriel over Robinson there, T-flips. Chris says, hey, is a -8 worth it? Removing Gakpo for Visser and downgrading a Robinson or Hall to pay for it. Tripled up on Liverpool, Everton already. I'd rather sell Lewis Hall, because even if Newcastle reached a final, which I talked about earlier, and let's actually go to... Might as well play the video one more time. Even though it does get in the way of the graphics, I guess. But let's go back to my team. Let me just go back to my team. From what you're saying, I'd rather sell Lewis Hall, because Newcastle won't double in Game Week 25. Their game against Crystal Palace will likely take place in Game Week 33 if Newcastle reach the Carabao Cup final. Whilst Robinson could double next week if Spurs reach that, which maybe is unlikely, but still more possible, I'd say, than Arsenal making a comeback. Is a -8 worth it to get Moyes and AM chip? Depends on the context. Who are you selling to make this happen and all of that stuff? But I think a -4 or -8 could still be worthwhile and using the chip now. JE says, I'm going Moyes. All the best. Hopefully it goes well. Best Everton defender. Money is no issue. -4 and getting Slot. If money is no problem for you, then I'd recommend Branthwaite or Tarkowski. Maybe a slight preference for Tarkowski. But I'm going for Mykolenko because it gives me even more funds for future moves as well. Remember, if you go for, well, you say Arne Slot, so that's fair enough. But for those going for David Moyes, if you then want to go to Ange, Postecoglou, Marco Silva, or Unai Emery, you need money in the bank to make that switch. Should I play AM for a -8 or on Slot or stick to triple captain? That's a close one. I think in this case, I'd maybe favour the triple captaincy on Salah, but not by much. If it was a -4, then I'd probably still say the AM. It's really, really close. This week, start Gabriel, Munoz or Konsa. I think Gabriel. Mbeumo or Visser this week? Mbeumo. Both good options. Moyes and Gakpo or Ndai and Slot? Yeah, I mean, that's also very close. I mean, you look at it as a duo. The most important thing there is really the managers and what you predict for their results, but I'll probably go for Ndai and Slot because I think it also prevents you from making a transfer. If you've got 5 good midfielders, in my case, I've got Semenyo, for example, ready to come in from Game Week 25 onwards. I'm actually happy to bench Ndai next week, so I'd go for Slot. Sell Trent or Gakpo? Gakpo. Who is the best replacement for that player ahead of double Game Week 25? Ideally Watkins, who will likely double in 25, but nothing is set in stone yet in terms of who's doubling in 25. It all depends on the Carabao Cup semi-finals. Hi, is Gordon to Mbeumo for a -8 worth it? Nah, you don't need to do that. I like Mbeumo a lot, but just keep Gordon for now. You can always make the switch later. I'd prioritise Slot. Yeah, even from -8, I think, I don't know the context, who you're selling and stuff, but probably. Maybe we were wrong about this after all. The AM chip is fascinating and exhilarating. I feel relaxed having played it now, and I'm eager to see how it pans out. Let's go, Everton, get in there. Look, I'll give it a chance. I'll see how it pans out, but I also think you'll be impacted in terms of if you like it or not about your performance. You know, if you end up having it go horribly wrong and it ruins your season, I think you'll have a different outlook to someone who maybe had a massive rank gain and has won FPL from using the chip. Mark Gollage says, "Hi Dylan, ride to Pickford for a hit." I don't think I'd take a hit for that. I think Rye will play tomorrow, but I'm less confident than I was before. Sell Sanchez or sells for Pickford? I'd rather sell Sanchez, even though I said it before, you know, Chelsea could double in Game Week 25. By the way, I'm on the wrong screen here. Let me go to my FPL team. Yeah, I'd rather keep Sells than Robert Sanchez. Yeah, Ryan, I do remember you. A lot of familiar faces in the chat as well. It's always good to see. Gali says, start one, Munoz or Milenkovic. Dallas says, hey Dylan, hope you're doing well. Who should I take out for Virgil to get in Slot? He is the only premium defender I got. Well, Mikalenko could be a decent option. Doubles this week, and he can be your 4th or 5th defender going forward. So that also looks pretty reasonable, and it gives you a lot of money in the bank to not just buy Arne Slot, but also maybe buy Watkins in the next week if you want, or just make other moves. It gives you a lot of different possibilities there. Hey Dylan, I have 0.5 million in the bank. Should I play the AM chip and buy Moyes? Yeah, I'd recommend it. Now, if you're of the opinion that Everton will drop points against Leicester or lose, and then Liverpool batter them, then no, don't just force it for the sake of it. It all depends on your predictions ultimately. But I think Everton will get, I think, at least 3 points in this double game week in terms of getting a win out of the 2 matches. Worth getting Slot in for a -4. Gakpo out. Yes. I don't like it. I don't like selling Gakpo or any Liverpool player for a hit this week, but I think it makes sense. Chris Wood or Gakpo? Well, Gakpo is my preference, but it's all team dependent. Sartor Semenyo to enable dunk to Mikalenko for free? Yeah, and I think Semenyo's an upgrade regardless. You could also go for Dango Ouattara or Justin Kluivert if you don't have him already. Kluivert is my favourite Bournemouth midfielder, but yeah, good transfers. Bench one of Robinson, Hall or Timber? I would bench Timber from these 3, I think. If it's Gabriel, it's different because he's got the goal threat compared to Timber. Black Shadow says, hey Dylan, I have Gordon and 0.9 million in the bank looking to get in Moyes. Should I do a -4 and get Rodgers into Gordon, out and get Slot? I'd probably take the -4 hit route, but that's just my opinion. I think both of them are absolutely sound. Really struggling whether to play Rodgers or Semenyo. I know Rodgers just scored a hat-trick in UCL, but I prefer Semenyo. Yeah, it's just Liverpool. And I think the likes of Kluivert, for example, my unpopular prediction is that he'll blank this week, but he can get some massive returns in the future weeks. I get what you're saying. It's not an easy one, and Semenyo always seems to kind of do the opposite of what's orthodox. He's unorthodox, let me just say it that way, but I'd go for Rodgers. Van Dijk or Gakpo? Gakpo. Not much in it, though. And I think with Van Dijk, for example, you've probably got better replacements when you're looking to sell him. Start Ahmad or Rodgers? Rodgers. Hi Dylan, triple up on Liverpool and got Mikalenko already. Should I just do Foden to Mbumo and wait for the next week to do triple captain or AM depending on the fixtures? I like the Foden to Mbumo move, but it's not absolutely necessary, especially considering Foden's form. I'd recommend using the AM now, but if you are unsure and you don't really feel it this week, maybe waiting until Game Week 25 is a sound strategy, to be fair. But I'll be honest, if you aren't using the AM chip this week, I'd be using the triple captaincy on Salah. That would be my take. You can't use both of them at the same time, and if you use the AM chip in 25, yeah, obviously you can't use the triple captaincy in any of the preceding 3 game weeks. Would you rather sell Van Dijk for Slot or sell Gakpo for Ndai and AM Slot? Well, it depends on the Van Dijk replacement as well, to be honest, but yeah, I think in this case, I'd probably rather sell Van Dijk because you've got more options to choose from. Now, instead of Ndai, you can go for Vissa, by the way, as a long-term option. He's not going to double, but I think Brentford attackers are still very decent. Raul Jimenez to Ndai and AM Slot? Yeah. But I'd only do Jimenez to Ndai. Well, to be fair, you could do it anyway, but I wouldn't do it for a hit. I don't think it's like absolutely necessary. Recommended defender for under 5 million to replace Van Dijk. I already have Pickford, don't want to double up on Everton. Kirkes or Howson. Not a great fixture this week, but what you've got is a long-term set and forget choice who can navigate the doubles and blanks seamlessly. Start one, Munoz or Sarr? Probably Munoz, actually. Hey, Dylan and everyone, would you start Rodgers or Gordon? For me, a slight preference for Rodgers, actually. Very, very close one, though. Greg Best says, thanks, Dylan, mate. Once the Asman ship runs its course, always scope to recover with that 1.5 million. Yeah, that extra money in the bank could really be helpful. Probably by that stage, though, you would have used a lot of transfers, maybe taken a hit or two, especially in my case. But by that stage, if you're so many points up, I think you'll be quite happy with it. Play Ahmad or Rodgers? Rodgers for me. FPL Wonder says, hey, Dylan, start Munoz or Robinson? I've got both Isak and Ahmad. I'd lean towards Munoz this week, but not by much. Yeah, I think so, Extra HD. It's just I haven't locked it in yet, but yeah, I've got it ready. I've got both avenues ready. And by the way, I don't need to take a hit. I'm just probably going to do it to get Mykolenko for Veltman, get a double gameweek in there, and hope for a clean sheet against Leicester. But yeah, these are my options. Obviously, with the Everton route, like I mentioned before, going for David Moyes, I can triple up on the Toffees. Up the Toffees! And I can triple up on Liverpool as well. Actually, am I being stupid? No, I'm not being stupid. I'm looking at the wrong screen. Yeah, so this is the Everton one. I'd have a triple up in Liverpool with Gakpo, Trent and Salah, and then Mykolenko, Ndai, and David Moyes. But, of course, if I want to get Arne Slot, it means selling Gakpo, and I'd still have 4 double gameweek players, right? Yeah, I'd have 4 double gameweek players, and also Arne Slot, so I'd have 5 for double gameweek 24. And I think with this avenue with Slot, it also allows me to get Watkins in for Isak next week if Villa double. And I can do that for free and just leave the rest of my team like that. I can start Gordon against City over Ndai, for example. And I'd have Semenyo against Southampton. So, yeah, both avenues are strong. But I do think in future weeks, the Slot route is slightly better for my team. Start Hall or Aina? Lewis Hall. Kenny says, hi Dylan, should I swap Iwobi for Ahmad for a -4 and then I can buy Moyes as the manager or triple captain Salah? I'm unsure. I'd go for the AM in this case, even for a -4 hit. Iwobi to Ahmad, that could be Dango or Ouattara, by the way. It might also be Morgan Rodgers if that actually works for you in terms of funds, because Rodgers could double in Game Week 25. I've only got 1 free transfers left. I mean, you can see it on screen, right? If you look at the left-hand corner of your screen, actually, you know what I'm going to probably do in future? Yeah, I'm gonna probably like update the graphic maybe and say Game Week transfers left, because obviously, yeah, I think that's probably the way to do it. But yeah, I've only got 1 free transfer. Let me just put it that way. I've used too many recently, and most of them have backfired, except Gakpo, but now I'm looking to sell him. Thank you, mate, always for the advice. Wish you good luck and green arrows for this week. Likewise, FPL Kevy. Start Rodgers or Kluivert? Rodgers. Ferguson. Do Colwill or Anderson to Mykolenko if I already have Robinson, or do Raya to Pickford or Roll? Yeah, I think I'd do Anderson to... I get what you're saying. I'd sell one of Colwill or Anderson. I'd probably keep Anderson just in case because, well, to be fair, both of them could double in Game Week 25 actually, but you could argue that Anderson's more likely. Yeah, I'd look to sell Colwill or Anderson to Mykolenko. Trent to Kanate? No. No. Is Ndai better than Vissa this week? Can, but Vissa the next for the long term? Ndai's better than Vissa for this week? Yes, I think so, but long term, I'd rather go for Vissa. Is it advisable to play AM now with 2 Newcastle players? That's fine. I've got 2 Newcastle players myself, and I still think the AM chip is strong. Don't think it makes too much of a difference. I activated the AM chip. When do I get to select the manager? Well, now. You have to pick him. So now it will say pending. So once you've clicked the button, it will say pending. You need to click your manager. You have to select it in the transfer section because they come up as a player. You need to go to the manager section. And then once you confirm that move, that is locked in and you can't reverse the chip. Make sure you know what you're doing in terms of Arne Slot or David Moyes or anybody else you're thinking about. But don't chop and change before the deadline because that will mean hits and transfers being used. Dallas says, my defenders are Mikalenko, Van Dijk, Paul, Colwill, and Robinson. If I get Slot in, I'd have to take Van Dijk out and get a defender for less than 5 million. Yeah. It's not a bad defensive line. It's not terrible, but Colwill, for example, could be improved on. I'd still probably sell Van Dijk in this case. Not ideal, but I think it's a really good, just a good way of getting Arne Slot in. Bench one, Ahmad, Rodgers, or Martinelli? I'd lean towards benching Martinelli. Do you think they'll keep the Assman or do a different mystery chip every season? Great question. It really depends on the reception and how it goes. If people like it, I think they'll keep it for next season. I don't think they'll do a mystery chip every season, but maybe. I wouldn't rule it out. I just think they'll lean towards the AM chip next campaign. Play Greaves or Robinson? Probably Greaves. Not backing any for a clean sheet, to be fair, but it's the fixture. You kind of just hope for the best. Gameweek 25, Henderson, Konsa, Rodgers, Visser, bench boost. It's a solid squad, and Rodgers could have a double by then. Same with Konsa. But I don't know your starting 11 to really determine if that's like a really good bench boost and 15-man squad. Will Gakpo be benched in one of the games? If Liverpool double in Gameweek 25 as well, I think Gakpo will be benched in one of them, yeah. With Jota back, that's also reduced Gakpo's appeal a little bit for me, but he did score against PSV in midweek. And of course, you got 16 points against Ipswich Town last time out in the Prem. Yep, Cayman Corner, that was also covered in my slides and graphics earlier in this stream. You do get the money back when the free Gameweek period of your AM chip is over. Top 50k at the moment. Keep me in your prayers. Good luck, Greg Best. Hopefully you can push beyond that. Can't we play AM and triple captain in a single Gameweek? Yes, you can play those chips. Not at the same time, but you can play them in a single Gameweek. I just don't think the ceiling is as high. And with the AM chip, which is the most powerful, I'd really recommend using it in a double. So if you don't use it now, fair enough. There's Gameweek 25, Gameweek 33, and or 36. So around those kind of time frames, it looks pretty decent. I'd probably start Henderson over Flecken, but really close one. Flecken does have the home advantage. Close. I'd probably have to reconsider that. If Liverpool reached a final, is it 100% that they play double in 25? Yes, that's why it was big news yesterday. Liverpool and Villa would double in 25. Definitely, if Liverpool reached a final. If Spurs reached a final, it'll be Spurs and Fulham doubling in 25. And if it's Arsenal reaching the final, it'll be Arsenal and Chelsea. Do you think if Salah scores 4 goals in Gameweek 24, it will give triple captainers an advantage over AM? Yeah, if he scores 4 goals, yeah. And could he do that? I wouldn't rule it out. So that's why I think the triple captain on Salah is now maybe going under the radar and it could be really strong. I've used it already, so I'm not going to think about it myself, but it's still a solid option, don't get me wrong. I just think the AM one is better on paper. Bench Elanga or Gordon? I'd bench Elanga. I'd start Rodgers over Gordon. Gabriel over Hall? Just about. Hey Dylan, thinking of playing Moyes AM this week, then transfer Gakpo to Watkins and Moyes to Slot for free in 25? That's fair. I don't mind that at all, actually. I'd probably do it. That looks really, really solid. In my case, it would be for hits if I were to do something similar. I think so anyway. Maybe not. But no, it would be for a hit next week at least. I'd go for the, yeah. Play 2, Rodgers, Ahmad, and Mateta. Rodgers, and then possibly Mateta, which I mentioned earlier, but it's really close. I'm selling Veltman Twistapaki for Mikalenko. Is there any way you can use on Van den Berg so you are free to look at players like Visser in a few weeks? That is actually a very good point, actually. But you're a genius, fucking genius, man. I don't know why I didn't even think about that myself. I mean, I would rather... I mean, to be fair, with Arne Slot, that wouldn't be an issue. So, yeah, let's keep Veltman for now. Van den Berg out. I mean, it does keep my options open. Then in the future, I can do Ndai to Visser. Let me just bring this in. So let's bring in Mikalenko. I have 0.1 million in the bank with this Arne Slot route, which I'm guessing you're going to be like, oh, yes, like Winston Churchill. The alternative, of course, is this. I've got 0.8 million in the bank, but if I decide to get rid of Van den Berg instead, less money in the bank, less... Yeah, it gives me less maneuver or room for maneuver in terms of budget, but I'd still have 0.4 million in the bank, and I could do David Moyes to Emery if Liverpool and sorry, Liverpool and Aston Villa double in Game Week 25. So yeah, I've got a clear route with both of them. And I could also buy Visifer and die in the future, although that would require a downgrade elsewhere, which I can think about when the time comes. But yeah, I'm going to put a poll out on my in the live chat now. It could also help some of you watching, and I'm going to start locking in my team fairly soon. But if you did miss any of the graphics or breakdown, I'd encourage you to check the beginning of this stream. You can always kind of scroll and see the part where I'm showing the different graphics. And also in yesterday's Assistant Manager video and live stream, I went into all the ins and outs of the chips, the also possible, kind of usages of the Assistant Manager and possible double game weeks later in the season. All of that is covered in detail, all the information we actually know at this point. And of course, we'll get even more concrete news and updates over the coming weeks and months. So let's see if I can. I don't have enough characters, do I? I hate YouTube for that. I hate this part of YouTube, let's say. So let's see if I can fit this in. I probably can't. Ultimately, it's about, yeah, it's really about that choice. So it's Gakpo. Let's put Chris Wood. I can't do that, can I? Yeah, that's annoying. All right. Yeah, just putting a poll out now. Keep your questions rolling. I'll be answering them very shortly. And yeah, we'll be back in business. So in die, and then plus Moyes. And then the other one is going to be Gakpo to Ndai and Slot. All right. So yeah, these are the options. And I might go to fpl.team one more time as well to give a bit of context. But this is the Liverpool route. So getting Arne Slot, which means selling Gakpo to Ndai. And it doesn't have to be from -4 hit, by the way. It's for free. But I'm also looking to buy Mykolenko and get an Everton defender. And I'd replace Van den Berg, which gives me that Brentford slot available. So I could potentially get Visser in the future and double up with Mbumo and Visser there. The alternative is also to sell Van den Berg to Mykolenko. That's all the same. That's not even necessary, you could say. But in this case, it would be Chris Wood out for Ndai and then David Moyes. So I would have a triple up in Everton and a triple up in Liverpool with the David Moyes route, which looks better for Game Week 24 on paper. But for Game Week 25, I would then likely have to move David Moyes. And if Spurs reach the Carabao Cup final, I would be priced out with these moves unless I just decide, you know what, I'm going to keep Van den Berg and just sell one of Veltman or Colwill. Then I can go to Ange Postecoglou or Marco Silva. I think it will be Liverpool in that Carabao Cup final, and that means Villa will double in 25. So then I could go to Emery, who is priced at 0.8 million. So let me know your thoughts in the live chat and also in the poll, and voting is very much appreciated. And this is the context about Game Week 25, which is still important, of course. So with this is the Moyes route. So I can swap into Emery, assuming that they double, of course, and they would face Liverpool at home as well as Ipswich Town at home. And actually, let's add those projected fixtures here. Let's just add that here. Let's see. All right, there you go. So, of course, not locked in, but I could buy Watkins there for Isak and then buy Emery, but it would be from -4 here. On the other hand, if I were to go for the Arne Slot route, I could just buy... Wait, sorry, let's go to Game Week 25. I could buy Watkins for Isak for free, and I don't need to change my manager. I think the rest of the starting 11 looks solid, so I don't need to make any real changes there. I've got a clash between Chris Wood and Robinson, but it's not the end of the world. I could also start Gordon over Ndai. So, yeah, that is pretty much my two routes. I do prevent a hit by going for Arne Slot, you could say. I mean, that's debatable for sure. But I do lose Gakpo in the process. And I think that could actually be a bigger miss for Game Week 25 against Wolves at home with his terrific Anfield record. Dylan, am I splurging stupidity by going for Tarkowski instead of Mykolenko? No, you're not. If you've got the funds available, I think that's pretty decent, actually. It's just, I think for a lot of people, Mykolenko will be more accessible, and it gives you extra funds available to then make managerial changes or just have money in the bank in general to use the chip. So I don't think it's stupid, no. Gakpo starts, yeah, not... You know what would be ideal? If I saw something saying Gakpo benched, and then I'm like, you know what? There we go. I'm selling Gakpo, and I can get rid of him and go for Arne Slot. That doesn't really help, but sacrifices have to be made. Wood to Ndai and Moyes is much better. Moyes has 2 home games, and Wood's fixtures is pretty tough. Yeah, but Chris Wood, look, you make really good points. I actually agree with most of what you're saying. Chris Wood is fixture-proof, though, I'd say, this season. The good thing, actually, I didn't mention is with the David Moyes and Emery route, assuming that they double, even Marco Silva, if obviously Spurs and Fulham double, if you were to make those sort of moves, you could have 4 home games in just 2 game weeks. I mean, that's really appealing on paper. Arne Slot will have 3 away matches. So, like I said, it's not clear-cut. I think it's really obvious, you could say, that the AM chip is so powerful now, and it's a great time to use it. But in terms of how to approach it, no. Because it's a new chip, a new toy, and we're still learning things about it. Yes, City could have a double game week in 33 or 36. It was shown in the graphics earlier. So they could have a double of Southampton away, and I think Aston Villa. Yeah, I think Aston Villa, and then they'd have Bournemouth at home in the following week. But that is if they double in 36. It all depends on when that falls under. Bench Kluivert, Rodgers or Wood? This week, reluctantly, I'd bench Kluivert. Salah triple captain would be my favourite if you decide to go that route. Sarto or Bournemouth midfielder for a hit? Not this week, no. I think Raya will play, but I'm not entirely sure. I'll be honest. It's not looking good at the moment. I'd start Rodgers over Kluivert, so that answers Nashmi's question as well. Robertson to Mikalenko and get Moyes -4? Yeah. And by the way, I could also do that. Robertson to Mikalenko, and then I don't even need to sell Chris Wood. I don't need to get Ndai as well, and I can then, yeah, buy David Moyes. There's so many different ways to approach it, so it's very interesting. Ndai and Slot seems to be the most optimal transfer for you, in my opinion. I appreciate it. I mean, everyone has their own opinions. There could be a massive swing either way, so I might end up kicking myself saying, why didn't I go for David Moyes or Arne Slot? It's almost inevitable, you could say. Well, apparently he starts Petros, according to, well, I think Nuclear Atom quoted Footy Insights, who are quite reliable with lineups. It looks like Gakpo starts. I don't think he starts all 4 games if Liverpool double next week as well, though. Start Greaves or Timber? Probably Greaves here. Is that stupid? Probably. I mean, I've gone for 2-1 Arsenal and 3-2 Ipswich, but I'll probably go for Greaves and just hope for the best there. If it was Gabriel, though, different story, goal for it and all that. I'd say AM, Sunil, assistant manager. Matias says, hi, which option to get Slot? Trent out for free or Alisson plus Gordon out for a -4? Very close. Depends who you're replacing Alisson and Gordon with. The same goes for the Trent route. Do you go Mikalenko, for example? I'd probably lean towards Alisson and Gordon for a hit. That's really subjective, and I could be completely wrong about that. I think that's very close. A very unique situation, I'd say. Thoughts on the bench, Colwill, Gabriel, Aina? I'd bench Colwill. Hi Dylan, I have 3 Liverpool players. Should I prioritise triple captain or manager chip? I'd prioritise the AM. You can go for David Moyes, though, as you say, towards the end. But I'd prioritise that. I've said that in yesterday's stream. I'd encourage you to check that out because I kind of break it down in detail as to why I think it's so powerful in Game Week 24. And even earlier this stream, I showed the graphics that I discussed yesterday with updated versions to kind of, you know, correct a few things that were a bit inaccurate. Thinking of selling Van Dijk to Kerkez, thoughts? Long term, that's a good move. So I'm on board with that. And it could also free up that slot for Arne Slot. I'd start Gabriel. There, Salah goat. Is Ndai nailed? He should start the next couple of games. I'd be surprised if he was benched in this double. Rodgers or Ahmad to start? I've been asked this a lot. It's going to be Rodgers. So I'll try to avoid those questions in the future because obviously that's been covered to death. Raya is not officially out, but there is a chance he does miss tomorrow against City. I think he'll play. I'm less confident now, though, than I would have been before yesterday's press conference. Don't sell Gakpo, get Moyes, then Emery. Yeah, look, I'm going to have people telling me different things. The poll is quite clear, it seems. People recommending Ndai and Slot, but I don't think there's anyone that's particularly wrong. I think they're both good choices. It's just a question of hoping for the best and hope that luck is on your side. Yeah, I used triple captaincy back in Game Week 2. You know, my second best triple captaincy haul ever. I think Rashford was my best a couple of years ago. But yeah, 17 points from Haaland in a single game week, I'll take that. is the AM active for 1 or 3 weeks? 3 weeks. Once again, rewind the stream, go to the graphics section. All of it is covered in detail. Van Dijk or Gakpo out for a -4 and Slot in. Probably Van Dijk because you've got more alternatives in that defensive line, especially in the long term. I meant Gakpo to die with Slot for AM. Yeah, I got that, Lager. I did understand. Start one of Semenyo, Munoz and Sarr. I'd actually maybe chance on Semenyo here. Yeah, Danish, I just covered that. To the person, let's see. That said Gakpo started Champions League, yes, but others needed a rest. He had one more recently. Yeah, that is a good point. Sarr or Semenyo on the bench? Semenyo. So Punjabi, in my mini league, in my private leagues that I'm going for, I'm top of them. So yeah, I mean, from that perspective, Slot makes more sense. I still want to go up in rank though, overall. You know, I want to go way up in rank. I'm not happy with where I am. So from that perspective, David Moyes makes a lot of sense of the high risk, high reward approach. But I think both of them are reasonable. You make a good point though. If so, go for AM, Slot and Ndiaye, I think. Hey Dylan, bench one of JP, Semenyo. Was that JPM? Semenyo or Joao Pedro? I'd probably bench Joao Pedro there. But who's JPM? Yeah, just let me know. I'm probably bugging out. Luis Diaz to Slot or triple captain, Salah. Arne Slot. 3 weeks, Organ. 3 weeks. Start Murillo or Van Heck? Murillo. Sydney says, I have 2 free transfers and 2.7 million in the bank. I have triple Liverpool with Diaz. Who could I sell? Who I could sell for Mbuma to get Slot. Nevertheless, I'm leaning towards getting Moyes and rolling my transfers. Am I mad? You're not mad. I don't think any of them is like abundantly better than the other. They're both good choices. It's just a question of backing your gut and going for the kill. I would personally go for Mbuma in for Diaz. I think that's a good long-term transfer. And then you go for Arne Slot. But if you want to go David Moyes, I don't think that's a bad decision. Can you get AM and then change next week? You can't cancel the chip, but you can change your manager. So that's why I showed you earlier. If you go for David Moyes, let me just show you in fpl.team here. If you go for Moyes in Game Week 24, that doesn't use a transfer once you activate the chip. Then in Game Week 25, you can go to Emery if he doubles, maybe Marco Silva or Ange Postecoglou, and you make a transfer that way. So, yeah, that is pretty much how it works. In what case does C have a double in Game Week 36? It's based on the FA Cup semi-finals in Game Week 34. If they reach it, that could be brought forward 1 week to Game Week 33, forming a double, or is played later in the season around Game Week 36. Rye out for a hit. I wouldn't recommend that personally, but if you believe Rye doesn't play, going to Pickford isn't a bad idea. I just personally wouldn't do it. When is the best time to play AM chip, if not now? So that's where the graphics come in very useful. I might as well go for it one more time, right? So let's show that very quickly. So yeah, for those that haven't seen it, I'm not going to talk through all of it because it's be too long and I've got to lock in my team and answer more questions. But I'm going to let this slide play out basically. But yeah, I once again encourage you to check out the stream yesterday. It's very, very important. The best time to play AM chip, I think, if you don't play it now, Game Week 25 is still very good. So you can triple captain 24 and use the AM next week. If not, I think around Game Week 31 to 33, but it all depends when those doubles land. If it's Game Week 36, which ends up being a very appealing double, for example, where you might want to use the chip, you could use it in either Game Week 35 or 36. Just make sure you don't use it in 37 because the chip is active for 3 game weeks, and if you use it in 37, you only get it for 2 weeks. The same obviously goes for Game Week 38. That would be a waste, in my opinion, of the chip. So ensure that Game Week 36 is the very latest that you play the assistant manager. So like I said, all the chips are being broken down on screen. Pause it if you need to, if there's anything that maybe will help you in your quest for FPL glory, let's say. Thank you, Chris, for the super chat. Gakpo to Ndiaye over Vissa. Play Sarr or Joao Pedro? I prefer Vissa long term, I'll be honest. For this week, Ndiaye looks more appealing. Leicester at home, double game week, great form on penalties. But it would be Vissa long term. Play Sarr or Joao Pedro? Also extremely close. I'd favour Joao Pedro, though, out of the two. Let me know your thoughts, though, in the live chat. If you've got a slight preference yourself, maybe you feel differently to me. But I'd say Vissa and Joao Pedro in terms of your questions. Would you sell Isak for Vissa to bring Slot, says Mohammed? I mean, Isak might be sold in droves next week for Watkins anyway. That is a good question. I do like Visser, even this week, but Isak is in my top 10 captains against Fulham at home. I'd probably say no. Yeah, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Yeah, sorry, I was bugging out there. Yeah, I had a feeling it was obvious. It's just I've never seen that abbreviation before. Thank you, Geotip. I don't think I'd sell Isak for Visser, by the way, Mohammed. I don't think I would. But yeah, I'll stop featuring comments, of course, because it does get in the way of the graphics. But yeah, these are all the possible doubles later in the season. They're not locked in. They are not locked in. Only the Game Week 25 ones, depending on that Carabao Cup final, of course. But yeah, hopefully you got that. And like I said, rewind the stream if you have any other questions. But the periods really you want to AM or use the assistant manager chip is Game Week 24 or 25, Game Week 31 to 33 basically, and then Game Week 35/36. That is the best time. I wouldn't recommend Game Week 34 because that will be a blank game week with the clashes with the FA Cup semi-finals. So let's now go back to my FPL team, and yeah, we've got 20 minutes left to lock in. I'm going to make a decision because, yeah, I don't want to leave things to chance. We've got another super chat in the building. Let's go through that as well. Thank you, Napstar. It's always good to see you. Bench 2, Hall, Munoz, Timber, or Gavardio, and plus bench Kluivert or Martinelli. Yeah, really good questions here. So I would bench Timber and Gavardio, and I'd bench Martinelli. So basically all the Arsenal and City players, I'd start Kluivert, Munoz, and Lewis Hall. I think Slot is slightly better than Moyes because Liverpool will likely double next week as well. That's what makes me very bullish on Arne Slot, and that's why I'm even willing to make a transfer to sell Gakpo to make that possible. Ola Dilan, simple question. Would you sell Wood for Visser this week? Not necessarily, no. I like Visser a lot, but I'd keep Chris Wood for now if you can. I'm only looking to sell him or Gakpo to fund the AM chip or give me that spot for Arne Slot in my team. More likely to play 490, Rodgers or Gordon? I think at the moment it would be Gordon, at least for the next week or two, because Newcastle aren't in Europe. Longer term, that is a different story, though. Hi, Dylan. Slot in Gakpo to Visser or in Die for free? I prefer Visser over in Die long term, so that's my answer. And Slot is fine, of course. I think it's a really good choice. So start Mateta and Semenyo over Joao Pedro? I think so. I think Joao Pedro is a troll, though. I mean, a lot of people will sell him or bench him this week. We know what you can do. But yeah, I'd go for Semenyo and Mateta, I believe. When is the best time to use triple captain, if not Game Week 24? So yeah, I think that was also covered in the slides, mate. It would be either Game Week 33 or 36, depending on when the doubles fall in place. That's a great opportunity to do it. You can also use it in a single game week like 28, I believe, on Salah against Southampton. That's another opportunity for you. If you put your AM on the bench, does it count? I don't know what you mean by that. So you can't captain an assistant manager, of course. You can't also bench your assistant manager. Once you pick it and you select it, that is active for 3 game weeks. You can't bench your assistant manager and save it for another week. Thank you, Safar. Good luck as well. It should be very interesting. Michael Donnelly says start Semenyo or Rodgers. I prefer Rodgers. Beyond the hat-trick against Celtic, which of course was very impressive and unexpected, there's also the fact that he's facing a Wolves side without Joao Gomez, I can't speak, while Semenyo is facing the best team in the league. I think Bournemouth will struggle here, and I actually back Liverpool to win and end their unbeaten streak. But look, they're both good options. I think longer term, you could argue Semenyo is the better asset, but Rodgers could also double in Game Week 25. I'd personally favour Rodgers this week. Raul to Wissa, yeah, good move. It's just, it might not be a priority. And also, I mentioned this before, you might want to be careful with potential doublers in 25, which includes Fulham, because if they end up having that double in 25, you might regret making that transfer. So I'd probably keep what you have for now. Thoughts on triple captain with Salah? I think it's going under the radar. It's going to be strong. Will it be better than the AM chip? We'll see. Maybe for Game Week 24 specifically, it will be, but I still just like the high ceiling and potential of using the AM chip now, and that's why I've been so bullish on it. Start Robinson or an Ipswich defender? Probably an Ipswich defender. I'm not particularly keen on either squad keeping a clean sheet, though. Gakpo to Vissa and get Slot in for -4? Yeah. Mateta or Dango or Ouattara? Probably Mateta. Start Hall or Gabriel? I prefer Gabriel, personally. Keith says Semenyo or Sarr. I have 3 Liverpool players playing. I prefer Semenyo personally, but if you go for Sarr, I don't really blame you because you're avoiding that clash with your Liverpool players. I mean, they can all actually haul in the same week if Liverpool go off against Everton, and then, of course, against Bournemouth, they maybe drop points or Semenyo scores against them. But yeah, I prefer Semenyo personally. I'm not going to lie to you. Where in the menu can you activate the AM chip? I'm not sure if you're talking about the app or the website, but I'm fairly sure it's identical in both. It's, if I show you here on screen now. So yeah, as you can see here, it says Assistant Manager pending. So there are these 3 boosters, wildcard, free hit, and Assistant Manager. You just click on it, and look, I can cancel it because I haven't confirmed it just yet, and I'm going to make the moves very soon. But yeah, that's all you have to do. Click that button. It literally says Assistant Manager. If you don't see it on your app, update the app. That's very important, and then you'll see it, because I had a similar issue where it just wasn't working for me. It showed me a team I had from weeks ago, and it didn't show me my updated transfers. So update the app. Make sure to click that button, and confirm your moves, and make the transfers, and then it's locked in. So make sure you're happy with your final manager. Best Everton assets in the midfield, maybe Decore. I mean, I would have been quite keen on McNeil, but he's obviously injured. So, yeah, I think with Everton assets, I'm not too keen on their midfielders there. All right, so Mosquito puts a super chat. Apologies for that. Sometimes YouTube bugs out with the super chats. Start Ouattara or Raul Jimenez? That's a good question. Jimenez is another one who's quite difficult to predict, you know. He's got the better fixture on paper. Newcastle away isn't easy, of course, but I'd lean towards Jimenez. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, I'd go for Jimenez this week, but difficult to bench a player who just scored a hat-trick. David Moyes, la 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 la. Man, I'm going to be absolutely traumatized by my assistant manager pick, I think. If I go for if I go for Arne Slot, I'll be obviously gutted about not going for Moyes, and if not, it'll be the other way around. Thank you, Keith, and good luck for Game Week 24 and beyond. Hold on to Cunha or sell for Vissa? I'd probably hold on to Cunha for now. It does become more awkward and difficult to sell him in the future, though. I will say that. Raya to Pickford, 2 free transfers available. You pretty much remove a headache, you add a doubler, so I don't really mind it. Pickford's also the better option long term, and you get money in the bank, which you could then maybe use on Arne Slot or David Moyes. I'd probably do it for free, but not for a hit. Yeah, I just showed you how to pick a manager. So you update the app on your phone or your tablet, and if you're on the website, you literally have these kind of free boxes that says wildcard, free hit, and assistant manager. You click on the assistant manager one, and then you select it from the transfers menu. You go to the manager section if you need to, or just click on the manager vacant icon. So if I just show you here, so where it says assistant manager, you just click on it, and then you'll see all the options from the managers, and then you can just pick Arne Slot or David Moyes. It's up to you what you go for there. So yeah, that is how it works. So yeah, this poll, quite one-sided, I have to say. Gakpo to Ndai and Slot with 62% of the vote. David Moyes and Ndai, only 38%, and it also means selling Chris Wood. So very interesting results there, to say the least. Yeah, very, very difficult. I've had to go Wood to Ndai and buy Slot. Not too shabby. Was going to do Raya to Stolosek, whatever, the Polish guy, the Leicester keeper. But Raya has Leicester, West Ham coming up. Yeah, it's just a possibility if he misses out in Game Week 24, which would be a big blow for Arsenal, to say the least. Are we selling Slot in Game Week 26? Yeah, I think so. So in either scenario, Moyes or Slot, I would be selling the manager eventually, but going for Moyes almost guarantees me taking a hit in Game Week 25, whilst with Slot, I can afford to just make one free transfer and buy Watkins, or maybe get Rodgers, and I'd be fairly happy with my double Game Week 25 setup. Vissa and Mikolenko or Ndai and Pickford. I prefer Vissa and Mikolenko long term. Vissa or Wood this week? Close, but I'd probably say Chris Wood. I'm not sure where that's coming from, but someone else earlier said that Gakpo's starting. Yeah, triple captain in 24 or 25 is being overlooked, particularly 25, I'd say. That's a good point. Start Rodgers or Kluivert? Rodgers. Hi Dylan, I have 2 free transfers, 2 million in the bank, and Trent Salah Gakpo. Feels weird to sell Gakpo after last week, but I can do Gakpo to Vissa and then get Slot for free. I'd do that. Simple as. And I can do the same thing, by the way. Instead, I can't go for Vissa, but I could go for Ndai. I think that's probably the best move. Start Semenyo or Raul. Slight preference for Raul Jimenez this week, but Bournemouth assets are so difficult to predict. Would you sell Trent for Slot? Not ideal, but I would probably do it, yeah. Start Gabriel or Hall or Colwill. Gabriel. I might do Moyes this week and sell him to Arne Slot if they double in Game Week 25. Yeah, look, I completely get that. I've seen a few people say that today. That's fair enough. I'd rather kind of save a transfer next week if possible. Should I start Fass over Robinson? I get what you're doing there, but I don't think so. Yeah, I'll probably activate it, mate. Relax. I'll probably activate the AM chip. It's just, like I said, I'm just checking some things on Twitter, seeing if there's any news. What are you waiting for? Waiting for clarity, mate. Waiting for any updates on Twitter if we get any. I think it looks like Gakpo is starting. Nothing's wrong with Gakpo. I think he's gonna start here against Bournemouth, but people are selling him to get Arne Slot as their assistant manager. That's all covered in this video and yesterday's stream, so be sure to check it out. Slot to Arteta or Amram in Game Week 26. I think Arteta. Start Kluivert or Wood? Chris Wood. Yeah, people are transferring out Gakpo to activate the AM chip on Slot. Exactly that. He's not benched. As far as I'm aware, he's not benched. Yeah, I might as well lock in now. I can't be asked for this. I forgot I can change the manager. I don't want Slot versus City. Yeah, exactly that. So you have Slot for 2 double game weeks potentially, if you're backing them to reach the Carabao Cup final, and then you can sell him to Arteta in Game Week 26 to name one particular example. Yeah, Salah home to Southampton in 28. Yeah, I did mention that briefly earlier when I was asked about the best triple captaincy opportunities, so I'm in agreement with you there. Start 3 out of Mikalenko, Gabriel, Munoz, Trent. Also start Ahmad or Kluivert. Thanks a lot. I would start Mikalenko, Trent, and Gabriel. And I'd start Amad Diallo this week. And thank you, Penguino, as well. Good luck. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, I think I can gift memberships today. If that's the case, I will be doing so once the deadline has concluded, especially since we've reached our Super Chat goal. For some reason, YouTube doesn't actually keep count of it properly. It says 1 out of 5, for example. We have hit that Super Chat goal, I'm fairly sure. So thank you to those that supported the channel. And just checking Twitter right now. If you've got any links from a reliable source, leave them in the chat and we can go through that right now. But yeah, it's time to lock in our teams. And yeah, very interesting stuff. So we've got a few minutes left. I would not recommend leaving this late. There is the possibility the site crashes with how active FPL seems to be at the moment. Like the video if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel, especially if you found this useful. I've broken down a lot of information yesterday and also in today's stream. So yeah, I'm going for Arne Slot, I think. I think I'm going for Arne Slot. No updates as far as I'm aware, unfortunately, on Twitter. Bloody hell, the copy is out for your head, Dylan. Yeah, I'm not sure why you'd copy me. I mean, I'm having a poor season myself, and I always encourage people to play the game, you know, the way they want to. I'm just offering advice, and I probably give better advice than I perform in FPL, let's put it that way. AM for Slot, Virgil out for Munoz in the lineup. Yeah. A lot of people going for Arne Slot, and I don't blame them. Slot or Moyes? I prefer Arne Slot. If I didn't have triple Liverpool, I wouldn't have hesitated. I would have made the transfers already. Yeah, I think I'm going for this. So I'm going to sell Van den Berg to Mikalenko, get Arne Slot in, and also sell Gakpo to Ndai. It does leave me with one less doubler than the alternative, which is getting David Moyes. But I do think it puts me in a better position for the future. And I'm also just backing Liverpool to reach the final, have 4 games, and win 3 of them, I'd say, out of those 2 double game weeks. And I can always swap into Arteta in Game Week 26. So, yeah, I think these are my transfers. Remember, Arne Slot does not take a transfer for me. It's just Mykolenko and Ndai. So there we go. It is what it is. I am going to activate this Gakpo. I really hope he goes quiet now. I'm selling a player who just scored 16 points and is the most transferred in player. He's going to go up in price tonight, by the way. At least I got 16 points from him. It's done. It's absolutely done. But I was quite consistent about this. Let me just make sure. Yeah, let's make sure Mykolenko is in that lineup. Let me know, though, in the live chat, would you start Colwill or Robinson? I'd be interested to see what you think. Maybe Veltman. Maybe Veltman as well. But Arne Slot is in my team. Salah captain, Trent vice. I've still got Chris Wood, the man, the myth, the legend. What a season this is. What an absolute season. I'm going to put that poll out very quickly. And yeah, the Slot route did win quite comfortably in the end. Let's see if I can do this. Which defender would you bench? FPL Cortex says Colwill. What, you'd start Colwill? Okay, that's interesting. Would you start? All right, let's put the options in anyway. Robinson, Colwill, and... Wow, it looks like this is going to be one-sided. I mean, that's what I'm going for right now. But all right, appreciate the advice. Thank you, everyone. We are helping each other out here. So yeah, Alfred says Colwill, HE01Qs as well, Snickerboa, FPL Cortex, Harry. I mean, wow, this is quite resounding. Dylan, who would you start between Howson and Castagna? I would start Castagna. I ultimately don't think either keep a clean sheet, but better chance for Fulham. FPL.team has given me 89.7 expected points. What's everyone else and yours, Dylan? Well, with the route I've taken, which is buying Arne Slot, selling Gakpo and Vandenberg and yada, 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 I'll show you right now, very quickly. So it's 68.2 for next week, and for Game Week 24, it's 94. Don't know about that. And if I put Colwill in, it's going to be lower, because the algorithms aren't too keen on him. Oh, wow. Shut up, Dylan. You don't know what you're talking about. I think that's changed. So Colwill is actually the same as Robertson. Interesting. Very interesting. So double Chelsea, double Newcastle, double Everton, triple Liverpool for me, double Forest, and a Brentford player. Wow. Wow. I mean, when you put it like that, it's a bit crazy. And also, in this case, I don't have Vandenberg anymore. I've got Veltman instead. So 0.1 million in the bank. That is my team for Game Week 24. I really hope Gakpo doesn't punish me. I can see him scoring early now, and yeah, whatever. It's done. It's just done. Imagine Slot gets injured. Yeah, well, that's the good thing. Even if he does, it doesn't matter. You still get points. It's not about the manager. It's actually about the club, but it's called assistant manager. Start Gabriel Aina. All right, calm down, mate. We're here. I'd start Gabriel. Back your gut on that one. Dylan, lock in your team. 1 minute to go. Yeah, it's saved. Is it not saved? Is it not saved? Look, it says there. Assistant manager active. Save your team is grayed out because I've saved the team. Thank you for the advice and for the prompt. But don't worry, I've locked in my team. It's all done. Wait, what? Wait, what am I doing? Nah, don't worry. It's the wrong screen because that was another one. Whatever. It's all done. Look, it says there, Arne Slot. Yay. Let's see how it goes. What a season. That's my team before. That's my team now. Is it better? Let me know in the live chat. But yeah, it's been a very fun stream. We've literally got seconds left. Let's see if we can go for any more questions. Oh, nice. You get extra 4.3 points than me with one more doubler. But I did take a hit, to be fair. One is the triple captain most viable in the future. Game Week 33 or 36 in a double, depending on which double. Well, not double Game Week is bigger, but which fixtures we get for those doubles. And also Game Week 28 on Salah against Southampton, which Harry also mentioned in the live chat here. Good to see you, Lager, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. Would you sell Wood for Ndai? Only to fund Arne Slot or David Moyes. Otherwise, I'd keep Chris Wood. Team locked in. Good luck as well, and thank you for your advice. Ahmad or Rodgers? Rodgers. I'd start Chris Wood over Rodgers, but it's very close. Parik says bench 2 out of Kluivert, Robinson, Gordon, Hall, Dean. I would bench Robinson and Luka Dean. Slot benched. why you, mate? You're fucking making me you're making me panic. Yeah, you can't bench a manager. Don't worry. Good luck, everyone. Play triple captain on Salah. Wow. I mean, it's good to see different strategies because it seems like most people are going for the AM chip now. Good luck to us all. Mate, if Gakpo blanks both times, I'll be happy with that. I mean, sorry for those that have him. He's probably going to haul now, we know. He's only got 1 goal away from home, though, so please, come on, Gakpo, yeah? I'm actually more worried. Nah, I'm worried about Gakpo in every single week now, but Wolves at home in Game Week 25 will be quite tricky. Would you sell Wood for Ndai? Yeah, I just covered that. It is done. Good way of summing it up. Yes, indeed, it is done. Start Aina or Hall? I would have started Lewis Hall, but it's a really close matchup, like many of the questions have been today. Bench Slot, I'm finished. Yeah, I know, that almost got me, I can't lie. Imagine Slot gets a red card. That's what I mean, Chase. Let's actually go back to the AM chip and, you know, let's relax a little bit because this has been very stressful. No, I don't care. So this is the breakdown of the AM chip, yeah? So let's forget the video. Well, no, let's not get rid of myself. What am I doing? You absolute idiot. So let's go to this. Let's break it down once again. Yes, a lot of us have activated already, but let's understand this chip. The assistant manager is about the chosen team's performance. If a manager gets sent off, booked, leaves the club, gets sacked, it doesn't impact your FPL points. All Premier League coaches cost between 0.5 million and 1.5 million. No price changes until the end of the season. The chip doesn't replace a player. You need money in the bank to add this assistant manager. Once it's activated, the assistant manager will last 3 game weeks and you cannot use any other chips. You get your money back to invest in your 50-man squad when the 3 game weeks have concluded. You can't captain the assistant manager. You also can't bench them, yeah? It is irreversible once confirmed and can only be used once per season. Although your first selection won't use up any free transfers, subsequent changes will. 3 players per team extends to this chip. So if you've got Arne Slot, you need to get rid of one of Trent, Salah or Gakpo, which I did, to get the Dutch manager. If your chosen manager faces a club ranked at least 5 places higher in the Premier League table, you get extra points for a win or draw. And how is that really, you know, evaluated? It's by the beginning of the game week. So if the manager qualifies for the table bonus at the start of the game week, they will remain eligible throughout. As for the next slide, this is the point system and how it works. A win gives you 6 points. Table bonus gives you 10 points for a win. So if David Moyes gets a victory against Liverpool, he will get 16 points for that win alone, not even counting the goals scored and clean sheets. For each goal scored, it's 1 point, a clean sheet gives you 2, and a normal draw gives you 3 points, and a table bonus draw gives you 6 additional points on top of that draw. So that is pretty much the breakdown, and I'll probably play this video again, just for those that have missed it. It's a really important, I don't know, let's say, just collecting all the information you need for all the doubles and blanks. Pause if you need to. I'm going to answer some questions as we go along, but I'm not going to highlight messages because it gets in the way of the graphics. Slot chilling on the bench. Yeah, I can't lie, it almost got me because, yeah, this chip is a weird one. Slot is injured, Extra HD says. And it's done. Yes, it is. Rogers or Mbuma says Extra HD. Mbuma this week. Ross says, Souls to Henderson, have 0.8 million after this. Use AM on Moyes, what do you think? Well, obviously the deadline is past now, unfortunately. I do apologise for that. But in your case, Souls to Henderson? Yeah, I think I would have done it. I mean, it's not ideal. And Palace won't double in 25, even if Newcastle reach the Carabao Cup final. But I just think David Moyes or Arne Slot, it's a great opportunity to use the chip. Odds on picking a random game week to triple captain Salah. Can see him getting another 15, 17 pointer versus Southampton at home. Yeah, so game week 28 looks good for Salah if he does start the game and gets plenty of minutes, which I think he will. And then game week 33 or 36, depending on how the doubles land and which options you want to go for. So yeah, good to see some of you here in the chat still. And let's see if I can give some memberships fairly shortly. Good luck all. Should I do Rogers? Don't know what the rest of that is. Start 2, Munoz, Vandenberg, Greaves, Perkes. This week it would be Munoz and Greaves, but in most occasions you're going to go for Kirkes and Munoz. From triple captain Salah to Slot, a lot of people made that switch, but I still think the triple captaincy can work very well, but the AM chip has so much potential. Yeah, FPL Challenge I'll go to shortly, Danny. I mentioned it once in this video, but yeah, the main focus of course was FPL with all the chaos. Sartor Rogers next game week if they double? Yeah, 100%. Fingun. Triple captain Salah as well, says John. Good luck. Hi, Dylan. Would you have started Sar or Colwill? I mean, Sar's got the highest ceiling, but Colwill... Yeah, Colwill's an interesting one, I think. So yeah, by the way, this is all done. The graphics and everything has been covered. Once again, let me go back to my FPL team for now, and shortly I'll show you my FPL Challenge squad. So where were we? So yeah, a lot of these have been covered here. Oh Jesus, my screen's bugging out. Would you have started Sart or Colwill? It's probably going to be Colwill. Just hoping for a clean sheet there against West Ham. Slot chilling on the bench. Start Gabriel or Munoz? Gabriel. Time for Gakpo to correct those away stats. Hopefully not. I ended up doing Kanate to Greaves, then AM Slot. Wow. Interesting. I mean, if that was Mikolenko, I'd have definitely been on board with that, by the way. Here we go. Confirm crazy deadline moves as FPL Dylan sells Gakpo doubler for Ndai and signs his new Assman Slot. To be fair, the first part of your sentence, when you say, as FPL Dylan sells Gakpo doubler for Ndai, this doesn't seem right, does it? But Arne Slot, come on. Are you excited for Bournemouth versus Liverpool now? Not really, because, look, I mean, the positive thing about it now is if Liverpool drop points, I mean, I don't think Arsenal will capitalise on that. I hope I'm wrong about that, but at least I've got that to fall back on, you know? At least I'm maybe, you know, giving my club a better chance. Really dumb logic. And if not, I get FPL points. So either way, I'm gaining something out of whatever happens if Liverpool draw, win, or lose. But yeah, if Gakpo scores, and let's say David Moyes beats Leicester and Liverpool, it's time to quit. Joking, no, it's not, but it would be very, very painful. Hope that this week will not be an anticlimax. It could be. It could be. Maybe Bournemouth and or Everton produce a shocking result. Or, in the case for those that went for Everton, Leicester get a win at Goodison Park and Liverpool batter them and you get 0 points from Moyes. Who knows what's going to happen this week? It should be good. What a deadline decision by Dylan. Mind-blowing deadline. Yeah, you could say that. So yeah, what if David Moyes wins against Arne Slot? Okay, let's do one possible scenario. Of course, you saw the table very recently. So if Everton beat Liverpool, David Moyes would get 16 points for the win. If it's a 1-0 victory, you would get a point for a goal scored and 2 points for a clean sheet. That means 19 points for David Moyes in that game alone. And if they also beat Leicester, you could be looking at close to 30 points, depending on the scoreline and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why I mean, David Moyes has a really high ceiling, but it can also completely flop. I mean, what's more likely, Liverpool losing both games or Everton? I think we all know the answer to that one. But yeah, we'll wait and see. Either way, it's going to be a really close one. If Everton beat Liverpool, everyone's going to go crazy. Yeah. I mean, those that would have gone for Moyes will be celebrating, and some of them might even still go to Arne Slot in Gameweek 25 anyway. Unai Emery has given the green light to Aston Villa board to try advance a Marcus Rashford loan deal. Expensive and difficult one, but Villa have already approached Marcus's camp. Strong interest. Wow. Yeah, it looks like Aston Villa are linked to 2 or 3 attackers, which does seem a bit strange because they signed Doniel Marlon. They obviously sold Duran, but to get 3 signings in, I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to say Watkins is going Arsenal, but I wouldn't rule it out completely. I probably would, actually. I was thinking, why am I bringing in a second Everton defender, including Pickford? I may as well just have brought in Moyes, but it was too late to think about it. Yeah. I mean, did you end up using the AM chip on Slot anyway? My triple captain didn't register. Oof. Oh my god. It's just, I have no chips active. Look, you can still do well this week, but yeah, my advice would have been to activate the triple captaincy if you aren't going for the AM. Okay, it'll be for a -4. Good luck to all. Likewise, Fingon. Moyes to Emery. Sar to Rodgers if double. Yeah. One of the other reasons why I decided to go for Slot is to prevent that hit for my own team in Gameweek 25. No, it doesn't. It actually sounds like a mistake, but hey-ho. This is FPL's Goldhead. I think Moyes is a bad choice. We'll wait and see. I mean, ultimately, if Everton continue their fine form and make it 4 wins in a row, people will be feasting. Everyone, let's predict how many clean sheets Liverpool get over the next 2 game weeks. Yeah, I'm torn between 1 or 2 clean sheets, but I think they score in every single game, and I think they'll get 3 wins and a draw. So let's actually go to predictions and stuff like that. Let me end this poll, by the way. Robinson ended up winning the vote by... Wow, okay. But I went for Colwill, so... Yeah, Veltman is last with 3%. He'll probably end up outscoring the others. FPL editing. Yeah. Let me raise that a little bit. All right. But yeah, FPL Challenge is the first thing to talk about. So I got 40 points last week, not great. My current squad is Pickford in goal, Trent, Van Dijk, Tarkowski, Salah, Diaz, Palmer, Mbumo, Isak, Ndai, with Arne Slot as my assistant manager. I might go for David Moyes, so I've got the best of both worlds, you could say. Maybe I'll do that instead. And I'm also thinking about Gakpo up front, so I might do that. Just because I've got Arne Slot in my normal team. I'm leaving here with something, yeah? No, probably not. So yeah, Gakpo in. That is my updated FPL Challenge team. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. I'm fairly happy with it, to be fair. I'll leave that on for a little while longer and then go to predictions and stuff like that and hopefully give some memberships too. FPL Kevy says, bro, I think I ended up starting Rodgers ahead of Semenyo. Main thing that swinged it is Villa playing at 5:30 and I want a player to watch. Please, Semenyo, don't punish me. Mate, he probably will because he's on my bench. He always gets bloody points on my bench, but he's starting next week. Semenyo, do something in my team, yeah? Nice. Sydney says, I did like the Moyes move and rolled. My blood is blue now for the next 2 weeks for better or worse. That's one way of putting it. Good luck. Yeah, Colwell's not great, Gio, I know that, but the alternatives are Robinson to Newcastle away, and I've got 2 Newcastle attackers, or Veltman away to Forest, and I've got Chris Wood. So, yeah, I think Chelsea will concede. I'll talk about my predictions very soon. Starting Greaves over Timber and Robinson, a biggie incoming. I probably would have done the same thing, to be fair. Good luck to you, that's all I can say. Lager with some great emojis there, YouTube style. Just 1 point before last week, and Ndai had outscored Gakpo this season. Yeah, look, Gakpo's better than Ndai. I didn't want to make the transfer, but it's to buy Arne Slot. That's the only reason why. I'm glad Liverpool are playing today. Didn't have to wait long to see the Assman in action. There is a long wait, though, between the 2 games in Double Gameweek 24, and then we've got a bit of a break going into 25 as well. It could also be 3-0 to Liverpool, high percentage that Liverpool wins. Yeah, and that's why I went for Slot in the end. Robinson is now winning the vote. Yeah, crazy, but I've ended the poll. I've made my decision. I've started Colwell. I got Gakpo in, but he probably won't play one of the games. Yeah, so if Liverpool double in Game Week 25 as well, I think he'll be benched in one of the next 4 matches, but he should still start 3 of them at least. And he's a good option. He's been in great form. Triple captain Salah next week? Yes, but if you have used the AM now on Moyes or Slot, you can't use the triple captaincy until Game Week 27. I mean, Watkins has already told Emery he wants to stay. Yeah, look, I don't think he's going, but it just seemed a bit weird that Villa want 3 attackers. I don't know. Maybe that was not completely reliable. Please take Rashford away from us, Villa. I think Watkins might be sold to fund their attacking moves. They might have been targeting Disasi from Chelsea too. I mean, look, Arsenal need somebody. They've left it too late. They're out of one competition, almost out of another. And the Premier League, they could have made some big strides in the last month, but yeah, I mean, they've been flapping about in the transfer market as usual. I sold Konate for Mikalenko, then Wood for Ndai, -4 AM on Slot. Yeah, good transfers overall. I like that. Went for a Branthwaite punt, thinking Mikalenko would be with Salah for second match. Yeah, true. I mean, ultimately, though, you probably don't see a massive difference between Branthwaite or Tarkowski with Mikalenko. But yeah, if money is no issue, I think going for the centre-backs is absolutely solid. And Branthwaite did score against Liverpool last time out in a 2-0 win. AM active on Moyes, ready for Red Arrow, overall 4K. Well, you're in a great rank, so it's going to be difficult to get any greens, of course, but you can still do it, I think. Yeah, I got Slot, Ndai, and Mikalenko to bin Vandenberg. Yeah, I appreciate that advice, Twisted Parky. The only problem, if we look back at my team, is the fact that I've only got 0.1 million in the bank now, but I've got Arne Slot in. So it's not too shabby. I don't see myself switching Arne Slot, and if I have to, you know, he's the most expensive manager in the game alongside Arteta, Maresca, and Guardiola, and Eddie Howe, so I can switch to any manager I like, basically, if worse comes to worse. So, yeah, in the end, I think this was the best set of transfers, voice crack, to proceed forward in FPL, and ultimately Colwell and Veltman are still on the chopping block. The rest of my defensive line is solid, but I could see myself making another downgrade, maybe Trent, to a cheaper defender like Kirkes to fund other moves in the future. It's going to be very interesting times ahead, but now I can finally get Visser if needed. It's giving me that option as well. Yeah, definitely Adnan. Selling Gakpo is something I just didn't want to do, but I've done it. I didn't activate the assistant manager. I still have a better chance for assistant manager next fixture. Well, you can still use it next week, yes, and also in Game Week 31 to 33 or around Game Week 36, but it all depends on how the doubles land. And the main reason why I'm so bullish on using it now is because by using it in 24, you've got back-to-back double game weeks guaranteed, but it can still work. I dozed off without setting any alarms around 3 hours ago, woke up completely on my own, which literally never happens, at 5:57 a.m, just 3 minutes before the deadline, and made my transfers just in time. Wow. There was some divine intervention, you could say, for you to make your transfers. I also woke up very early today, but I slept through my alarm a few times. It was a struggle to get here on time. Yo, Dylan, just finished my exams, didn't do well. Well, you don't know that yet. All the best with that. I actually had a dream I was doing an exam myself. I don't know why. It's been ages since I've done one, but hopefully you get the results you want. And ultimately, exams aren't everything. Okay, I'm not just saying that to appease you. It's honestly the truth. It doesn't matter, Moses. Check out what I talked about earlier. It's about the team's performance, not the manager, despite the name of the chip. So don't worry if Arne Slot gets sent off. Don't cry. It's absolutely fine. He's not going to lose points for it. Good luck, mate. Settled with the triple captain in the end. See you in the next one. All the best, Alex. I hope it goes well for you. I know you were deliberating between both paths, and hopefully it really pays dividends. Yeah, I started Colwell too. It was my fear I was expressing. No, yeah, look. I completely get any hesitation anyway with him because he's a terrible FPL asset, but hopefully he can leave with something. So yeah, just the Parky puts predictions. Let me put my predictions up on screen. And very shortly, oh my God, I probably should do that actually. Let me just sort something out, yeah? Yeah? I don't know what I'm saying. Captaincy, no, that's already sorted. All right, let's go to predictions. So, I've gone for Nottingham Forest 1, Brighton 1, Bournemouth 1, Liverpool 2, Everton 2, Leicester 1, Ipswich Town 3, Southampton 2, Newcastle 2, Fulham 1, Wolves 2, Aston Villa 2, Brentford 3, Tottenham Hotspur 1, Manchester United 1, Crystal Palace 1, Arsenal 2, Manchester City 1, Chelsea 3, West Ham 1, Everton 1, and Liverpool 1. So basically, now that I think about it, I'm not backing not even one clean sheet. Bit fishy, Dylan. If there was a clean sheet, I think Forest could possibly keep one. Maybe Arsenal. Maybe Liverpool in one of those games, I think. But yeah, I don't see many clean sheets. I did originally go for Everton 2, Leicester 0. And look, based on these predictions, you could argue David Moyes looks really good, but it's not that clear-cut. Branthwaite hat-trick incoming. One goal is possible, I think. So, Twister Parky says Forest 2, Brighton 2, Bournemouth 0, Liverpool 2, Everton 1, Leicester 0, Ipswich 2, Southampton 1, Newcastle 2, Fulham 1, Wolves versus Villa 1-0 to Villa, Brentford 3, Spurs 2, United 1-1 against Palace, Arsenal 1, Man City 0, and then Chelsea 4, West Ham 1. Interesting. Buy Rodgers or Kluivert next week? I'd rather buy Rodgers, I think, if they double in 25, but I think longer term, you could still argue Kluivert is better, to be fair. AM Slot, Salah captain and Kanate bought in Dye instead of Mateta. Yeah, I think with Mateta, I've been recommending him since Game Week 20 and even before that. I think now is probably a bit too late and Palace will likely blank in 29 anyway. Hey Dylan, if not Captain Salah, which other ones would you do? If you're on about triple captain, you can also go for Salah in 28 against Southampton. Later in the season in 33 or 36, not just Salah, there's also Erling Haaland, who will likely have a double in one of those game weeks. It just depends on which one it falls under. Thank you, John David, as well. Yeah, the -4 hit was just Vandenberg to Mikalenko, which, one, gives me a free Brentford slot available for Visser in the future, and I could do in die to Visser at some stage, and also to get another double gimmick player. This case, it's Mikalenko. So, yeah, in either scenario, whether I went for Moyes or Slot, I was pretty keen on getting Mikalenko anyway, but in the end, I should have gone for... well, to be fair, if I went for Pickford from the get-go, that would have ruled out David Moyes for me completely. I mean, I would have just done Gakpo, gone for Slot anyway, but it would mean 6 Liverpool and Everton assets. So many ifs and buts in this game, isn't it? Just 1 point before last week. Yeah, that's been covered. I can get Visser too. I want to get him for better fixtures. Yeah, I'm very keen on Visser, but I might not buy him in the next week or two and instead focus on Watkins, and it might be Isak making way. Very interesting times ahead, to say the least. Just to go through it one more time with my the captaincy, for those that maybe aren't aware, this is what I've gone for. So pretty much dominated by Liverpool players. I put in Dye in 10th. I've been a bit sneaky about that. But I put Palmer, Isak, Mbeumo and Watkins, despite their single game weeks, also in that elite top 10 list. And Salah, of course, is highlighted as the best captaincy option for Game Week 24. And clean sheet odds. This is according to Draft Hound from a couple of days ago. So there might be a few changes, but they have put Ipswich Town in the top 6 with their fixture against Southampton. They've also put Brighton in 5th, Chelsea 4th, Villa 3rd, and then the 2 double game week teams in Liverpool and Everton occupying those spots, and then West Ham are bottom with their away trip to Chelsea. So those are all the graphics covered again. And let's now go to my FPL team and hopefully give some memberships. That's what I want to do. Hopefully YouTube don't let me down. I think I have to go to another tab here, so give me a second. So yeah, let's try to get this stream to 200 likes as well. That'd be very much appreciated. We did it also in yesterday's stream, which is also obviously always very welcome. So I'm going to give 5 memberships now. They're completely random. Let's see who gets them. I'm going to read out the names as they come along. So at the beginning of each month, I'll be gifting 10 memberships. And yeah, it will be in a UCL Fantasy or FPL stream, depending on the schedule. So Pieta, a United fan. Adil, a Liverpool fan. Goldhead, another United fan. Shax and Free Ronin, all gifted memberships. I do recognize a lot of those names and faces, you could say, the virtual faces. So enjoy the memberships. Remember, one of the key perks is early access to my videos for UCL Fantasy and FPL, sometimes a day in advance or even longer. So yeah, just enjoy it. Enjoy the memberships. Very soon I'll gift 5 more. Yeah, if we get to 200 likes, I think 5 memberships gifted now would be obviously the dream. You know, we'll all be in La La Land until the assistant manager flops completely. Thanks, chat, by the way. Not much spamming today. Maybe it was the Assman. Yeah, the chat was definitely very good for the most part, and it generally is, to be fair. So thank you to those that contributed to the chat with great questions and comments. Always appreciated. Who would have thought at the start of this game week that transferring Gakpo out would be one of the most popular transfers? Yeah, I never thought that at all. I would have said no and just not even given any detail to those answers. Edemis says, now everyone switching to AM. I feel like I have differential triple captain on Salah. It could work in your favour. It really could. I'm not ruling out the triple captaincy. I mean, I used it back in Game Week 2. It's easy for me to say. If I had all chips available, I'd still be using the AM personally, but that doesn't mean it's the right way to go about it. Last 2 days felt like an exam. Yeah, it kind of is like that, to be fair. Told myself I would take more risks, then I get Slot. Yeah, but selling Gakpo, if that's what you did, is technically a risk. So there is an element still, but I get what you're saying. David Moyes was like the maverick pick. Aranya says, sorted my bench and everything. Only got the vice-captain wrong, but I think with Salah captain, that won't make too much of a difference. Yeah, you should be fine. Touch wood, not Chris Wood or any other type of weird stuff. Anyway, Madeira. Yeah, Madeira. Bournemouth is a tough team. They are. And so is Aston Villa away if Liverpool face them in 25, but I think Liverpool will get 3 wins and a draw. No special player bonus in Fantasy Challenge this week. Yeah, it's just the AM, just promoting that chip. Let's see what he's saying. You have been gifted it a lot. Let's see if YouTube will give it to you again. I don't pick, I promise. Would be interesting if Spurs and Arsenal win in the Cup. Oh, yeah, definitely. That would mean Palmer, Raya, Gabriel, all these players like Borro, Son, Maddison would double. I don't think anyone has Maddison at this point with that injury, but you get my point. Also, Fulham assets would double. Robinson. Slot AM over Moyes made more sense to me in the end, as not every team is an Ipswich Southampton shipping goals, and Gakpo Paul have struggled to score a lot versus stubborn defences, especially away from home. Yeah, Liverpool have a brilliant away record this season, but in terms of their ceiling, it's definitely higher in home matches. I mean, it can go both ways, right? Because you could argue the chances of winning those games are going to be less because you've got 3 away games in the next 4 matches, but I still think they'll get the job done in most of them. If Everton had everyone fit, I would have played Moyes. McNeil and DCL, for example, does cut down their attacking threat. Very good point, to be fair, that I haven't raised before. Rude awakening for Moyes AM. I mean, to be fair, I mean, it's good for me, technically, because I haven't gone for Moyes, but I did buy Mikalenko for a hit. I'd like a clean sheet against Leicester, but then from an FPL perspective, Liverpool beating Everton comfortably would be the ideal scenario. Surely Greaves Halls against Southampton? I wouldn't say that, to be fair. No. How can I increase my budget? Well, depends on who you have, mate. But you have to make a sacrifice. In my case, I sold Gakpo for 2 reasons, of course, which are quite obvious. One, to get a Liverpool spot available and to get the funds to buy Slot in the first place, or David Moyes. But yeah, you've got to sell someone that might be pretty good. Even Anthony Gordon in the midfield. Rodgers or Watkins if Villa double in 25. Probably Watkins, but close one. I mean, for a lot of people, their route to buying Watkins is selling Isak, which is going to be very interesting to say the least. Hoping for Leicester mopping Everton. Fair enough. I mean, yeah, from an FPL perspective, that might not be the worst thing in the world. No worries, Pieter and Adil. Oh, big up my boy, says Goldhead. like up chat, thank you. Punjabi says, hello, I am here too. Ask YouTube, mate, I've got nothing to do with it. We're very close to 200. Once we get to that, we are going to gift 5 more memberships, answer some more questions. Maybe not about FPL, you know, let's talk about something else. I don't mind though. Sydney says, I went from ultra aggressive around Game Week 10 to 14, where I took 3 hits, to being ultra passive lately, where I've forgone moves such as Mbeumo and Slot while keeping players like Enzo and Diaz. I started this season quite conservative in terms of transfers, but I also made some bold calls like triple captaining Haaland, you could say, in Game Week 2. But yeah, recently I've made more transfers and been very aggressive, and it's kind of bitten me in the ass. Let's hit 200 likes. Thank you, Goldhead. Femi saying nice. Good luck with getting a membership as well. Yeah, Kenny, as mentioned before, it's because Liverpool will have likely 2 double game weeks back to back, and this is a great opportunity to use the AM chip, the assistant manager. That's all been covered before. Went for Moyes, feeling nervous. Yeah, I get that. I mean, even if you go for Slot, there is a degree of uncertainty and maybe anxiousness because of maybe selling Trent, Van Dijk, or Gakpo in my case. Duran to Vissa, or keep him in case he comes back next season. No, I'd go to Vissa. But to be fair, you might be looking at something else. If you've got the funds, Durant or Watkins looks really good. But yeah, this is a great transfer. Salah plus Gakpo Slot is the way to go. Arguably, if he can improve his away record, Gakpo, which I'm hoping he doesn't do now, possibly wasting. I'll let you guys and girls know there wasn't one last week because, like I said, it was very, very difficult for me to do it. But if it is possible, there will be one. It's as simple as that. The alternative is tomorrow, and if not, it might be scheduled later in the week, but I think people will be less keen on seeing it later at that stage. AM chip for next 4 weeks in challenge. Oh, wow. Oh, okay, that should be interesting. How many points will Moyes get if Everton draw 1-1 against Liverpool? Okay, so 1 point for a goal. No points for a clean sheet, of course, because Liverpool score in that case. They get 3 points for a draw in general. 6 points for a table bonus. So that's 9 plus 1. You get 10 points for that draw. So, yeah, compare that to Arne Slot, who gets no table bonus. He would get 4 points compared to Moyes' 10 because of the 6 points of the table bonus. I'll show that one more time. I know people obviously are still getting their heads around it, so don't worry, I'm not being snarky. So this is how it looks like. That is the bonus, the points scoring. Bloody hell, the point scoring in the assistant manager chip, which has been covered already. So hopefully that is all clear. I mean, my team value is 97 million, way too low compared to others. Well, ultimately, there are a combination of factors. I mean, normally if you have high-scoring players who are performing really, really well, people are buying them in, their value goes up, and that's how your team value, goes up astronomically, you could say. But I think in a lot of cases, people go early with their moves and they chase these price rises. When you do wildcard, which might be later in the season, you could go for it early. So like you activate on the Saturday, straight after the deadline passes, and you can build up some team value that way, but that would be late in the season. Likewise, Adil, have a good weekend. Did Gakpo to Vissa for a -4. Assistant manager Slot. Yeah, I like that Vissa pick, and I might buy him very soon as well. UCL gone all crazy with the playoffs. Yeah, and I only mentioned it once yesterday. Man City facing Real Madrid again, but in a playoff place for the round of 16 is crazy. So one big team will be out before the knockout stages, guaranteed. Yeah, and we'll talk about that in the UCL fantasy videos in less than 2 weeks' time. Terry says, thoughts on Gordon and Mateta to Kluivert and Watkins for a -4. I like those moves now, but I wouldn't make them just yet because there is still a chance Spurs reach the final and then Watkins doesn't double, and then you're like, well, actually, I don't want to sell Mateta to Watkins just now. So I like the moves now, but I wouldn't make them just yet. Now, I'm not watching the Royal Rumble. I haven't watched WWE in quite a long time, actually, in at least 5-6 years. Only if I waited until Friday, won't have done Wood to Gakpo. Oof, yeah, but look, no one could have expected this. It's something completely out of the blue. You got plans today, or you watching the football? Yeah, I got plans. I mean, mainly just with the family and stuff, maybe chill with some friends, but yeah, with the football, I will be watching if possible. I mean, typically when I go out with friends, we're watching football. I mean, that's pretty much all we think about. Currently ranked 26k, was at 13k, but green arrows have been few and far between. Still a great rank, mate, but I get the frustration. It's all relative, and when you're at that sort of position, you want to keep pushing further, and it gets frustrating when you seem to be stagnating, but trust me, you've got the foundations there. If Villa have a double in 25, would you do Rodgers for Gordon or Watkins for Isak? I mean, based on that, I'd probably favour Rodgers for Gordon, yeah. Regret going Salah triple captain. I've missed out on a game with the assistant manager, although I have Salah, Trent and Gakpo. Let's see how you feel by the end of the game week, because it might be different. I still think the triple captaincy is strong. I do favour the AM though, but that doesn't mean it's right. Vishal says, my team is Sanchez, Miklenko, Dean, Hall, Salah, Palmer, Mbumo, Rodgers, Wood, Isak, Gakpo and Slot for no hit, and I have triple captain saved as well. Yeah, really solid platform. Sanchez is sellable, but it's a goalkeeper after all. Not the biggest concern in the world for now. And he might double in Game Week 25 anyway, albeit a small chance. And you've got some decent assets in place like Luka, Dean and Rodgers potentially for next week. It's looking pretty good, yeah. And I'm not a big fan of Villa defensively, by the way, but good squad. Have Trent, Kanate, Salah, Pickford and Dye. Oh, jeez, almost dropped my phone. Already -4. What must I do? Triple captain Salah and buy Moyes, sell Sarr and Slot, sell Trent, or just roll? If you can, I'd rather sell Kanate and keep Trent for now. But from a structural perspective, it might make sense to sell Trent, so I don't really blame you there. I'd favour the... Well, to be honest, now in Game Week 25, it's a bit different. I mean, I wouldn't buy Moyes. I wouldn't be buying Moyes for Game Week 25 now, against Crystal Palace away and United at home. I'd be buying a doubler. So, yeah, I'd favour the Slot route. Having said that, I'm not so sure. I'd be less keen on Slot for 25. Let me just put it that way. The main appeal about getting him now is back-to-back doubles. I panicked and did nothing, sitting on main triple Liverpool, hoping to triple captain Salah next week and saving AM for end of the season table bonus. It might go in your favour, so it's not the end of the world. Which customer service team do you work for? None. Wait, is that a question we got earlier or something? Or I don't know. I've never worked in customer service. Kenny says, I missed that. I did the swap Iwobi for Ahmad for the -4. I had Rodgers already. Moisey is my AM now, and I have Gakpo. Yeah, look, in my case and a lot of people, they had to sell a Liverpool player in order to get Arne Slot in because it does count as part of your free Liverpool options. Yeah, just mentioned that as well briefly. I've seen the draw. I don't know all the ins and outs. I just know some of the main ones. But yeah, Madrid versus City is obviously the biggest name or the biggest game on paper. I switched Trent for Maatsen to move in for Slot. It could be. I think with both Dean and Maatsen, there is a slight concern there about either player having a double, or they might have a double gaming, but would they start both of them? I'm not entirely sure, actually. I think Concert is probably the safest bet in that defense. So yeah, we have reached 200 likes, as Weiseng says. Thank you to those that have done so already. So I'm going to give 5 more memberships, answer a few more questions, and then we'll call it a day. There could be another stream later, the reaction one, where it could be absolute chaos. You know, we're just talking about how well or badly something went. I'm looking forward to it if it does indeed transpire. But let's actually give these memberships now. So that'll be 10 gifted for the entire stream. And good luck. And let's see who gets them. So, Terry, Richard Downs, What No Graphics, great name, Arthur Nice, and Jerry Brooks are all gifted memberships as well. A few United fans there, if I'm not mistaken. I think Arthur's one of them. So a lot of United fans have been gifted a membership. So I'm not biased, you see? I'm not biased. So yeah, enjoy the memberships and good luck for 24 and the rest of the season. Almost the same choice as you, but Konate to Mikalenko and Slot. Yeah, if I had Konate and Gakpo instead of Trent, I would probably have gone for that. Konate to Mikalenko, and then avoid the hit, actually, in my case. So it's all relative. Yeah, sorry, random. It's allocated by YouTube. Hopefully for the next month, you will be gifted one as well. But all the best for the future. Yeah, a nice ratio, you could say. At least in terms of current or concurrent viewers and all that stuff. Vishal puts his team. Yeah, that was covered earlier. The AM chip does not suddenly make Everton a much better team than they realistically are. Yeah, they are 16th after all. With all the rotation and away fixtures risk, predicting poor wins over individual returns felt more plausible. Yeah, I agree. That's the main reason why I took a hit and got Arne Slot in and all of that stuff. Team news isn't out yet. Well, actually, maybe I'm being stupid. Yeah, they are out, isn't it? For Forest and Bournemouth. I'll cover that very quickly. And then, yeah, we will be closing things. So it was released quite a while ago, by the way, but I don't think anyone cares. No offense, it's a good game, by the way, but it's all about Liverpool, Everton, and the doubles. So let's go to this graphic. So Forest's team is Sells in goal, thank God. Morato, Murillo, Williams, Anderson, Gibbs-White, Chris Wood, Elanga, Danilo, Milenkovic, and Aina. Let's bring Brighton's lineup as well. So you can check the graphic still and look at the bench whilst I get the Brighton team up as well. Mitoma on the thumbnail, of course, linked to a move to Saudi Arabia. Al Nasser are reportedly interested. So he is starting for Brighton. For Bruggen in goal, Lamptey, Dunk, João Pedro, Jorginho Rutter, Minter, Welbeck, Mitoma, Van Heck, Veltman, and Hinselwood. I was going to say Lamptey starting, but Veltman is also in the lineup. Interesting stuff there. A more defensive approach, you could say, by Brighton and Hove Albion. Although, maybe not, actually. It could be Lamptey on the left. I mean, Twister Parker will probably correct me there, actually. But yeah, pretty decent stuff. That is the two lineups covered for the early kickoff. And yeah, for the rest, of course, I'm not going to be streaming for even more hours. That would be simply crazy. How are transfers going to work for the playoff matches in UCL? You get unlimited transfers for match day 9, and you get 2 free transfers for match day 10. And then for the round of 16 in match day 11, you get unlimited transfers once again. Then it works exactly like how it did last season in terms of free transfers for the second leg, and then 5 free transfers for the first leg of each round of the quarterfinals, semi-finals, etc. Would you do Vissa or Gakpo to Cunha in Game Week 27? I'd rather sell Gakpo to Cunha there. I'd rather keep Vissa long term. Yeah, WWE was fake. Yeah, he ruined the illusion for you. I get that. Sells, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Morato. Yeah, so the lineup has been covered as well. Obviously, you said this earlier. I appreciate you putting the teams up for those to see. Tremor Kid says, went early to be able to afford Pickford and Gakpo. PR would have made it possible. Only 0.1 million in the bank. Sold Gakpo to Ndai today to get Slot. Had everything worked out until the bombshell yesterday. Same here. My decision would have been, do I take a hit and get Pickford in for sales and then sell Colwill to Mikalenko? Or do I just make one free transfer and sell Veltman to Mikalenko? That was literally my decision before the bombshell that we got yesterday. I predict 1-1 between Bournemouth and Liverpool, while Liverpool beat Everton 2-1. That could also happen. I've gone for the other way round. Now it's a joke about the headphones. All right. I've basically been doing that recently to just block out a bit of like background noise and stuff like that, just in case. Yeah, Forest playing 3/5 at the back. Yeah. Hopefully that means a clean sheet because I've got Sells in goal. Oh, the Mo hit with his WWE defense, which is fair enough. true. I mean, Arsenal did go down to 10 men, but we don't know how it would have fared if they had 11 in the end. But yeah, Bournemouth are a good side. I mean, even if Arsenal had 11, Bournemouth could have won because they're a very, very good team at the moment. I just think if just because Cash is injured for a while, maybe Emery plays both Dean and Maatsen. I hope so. Yes, and also they're quite short at centre-back, which is why they're looking in the market. Disasi is currently one of the links. But Konsa should be fairly nailed on. He can play on the right and also in central defence. I thought I was the Terry that got gifted. I literally jumped up. Sorry, I didn't mean to get your hopes up. I was just reading the first names of the people who got gifted them. I don't think Branthwaite is a bad decision, and he did score against Liverpool last time out. Would you do this or Gakpo? Yeah, some of these have been covered. Okay, so yeah, most of these have been talked about. Veltman for assist and clean sheet. Oh, no. No. And he always gets bonus points when he keeps a clean sheet, unless he gets booked against Ipswich Town. Thank you very much, Veltman. What would you consider a success for Slot AM? If Liverpool double next week, in those 4 games, if Slot can get 30 points, I'd be very happy with that, because it's just like a solid baseline score, and then I can move on to Arteta, maybe get 10 more points and get 40 from that chip. I think that's a really good return. Of course, if you chase the table bonus and it goes well for you, you could be looking at 40, 50 points in general, but yeah, it's going to be close. Veltman will be right, Lamptey left, yeah, exactly that. Pedro scoring on my bench as usual today. That guy trolls me no matter if I play him or bench him. Just sell the geezer. Piss off, tell him to piss off. It's like Semenyo for me, but I'll give him a chance, of course, in the next few games. Hasn't the transfer window shut? I think it shuts on the 3rd of February. I'm going to double check that, and I'm not sure why they've changed it. Before, it's the month of January, and that's it. But now they've just made it a bit woke, as they say. January transfer window deadline. I'm pretty sure it's the 3rd of... Wait, what? Yeah, for this year, it's on Monday, the 3rd of February. So we've still got a couple of days for that. Already took a hit for Gakpo early in the week. Felt wrong to take a -8 to get Slot. Removing a double Gameweek player felt weird. Yeah, I think you put this comment in yesterday's stream and I completely get it. Yeah, I mean, I bought Gakpo last week, got a return, so I was a bit more inclined to sell him, although it's not really ideal. I went for Arne Slot, mate. So, if we go back to my team, so just to briefly recap for those that maybe are tuning in late, Sells is in goal. The back 3 is Trent, Colwill and Mikolenko, who I bought in for Vandenberg, and that opens up a spot now for Vissa in the future. I've got Salah, Mbeumo, Palmer and Gordon in the midfield. With Ndai, Chris Wood and Isak. I bought Ndai in for Gakpo to then buy Arne Slot as my assistant manager, and that obviously didn't cost an actual transfer, by the way. The hit was only because I've got 1 free transfer and I decided to buy Mikolenko and Ndai. My bench has Valdimarsson, Semenyo, let's see if he gets another return, Robinson and Veltman. And the plan next week is to keep Arne Slot unless Liverpool don't double, which I think will be quite surprising, and I can buy Ollie Watkins for Isak, or I can do Rodgers in for Gordon, actually. So I'll be talking about that next week, of course. Right now, let's just enjoy what we've got. Start Rodgers or Kluivert. I would have gone for Rodgers, mate, but the deadline has passed. I'm thinking of getting in Kluivert for Gordon, Gameweek 25 onwards. Apologies. And this a good idea, or should I focus on Brentford? No, that is a good idea. I think both Bournemouth and Brentford have good attacking assets to invest in. Bournemouth would be the priority, especially in the defender positions, but yeah, I like all of them. I think I'd rather go for the Kluivert option. If Spurs go to the semis, who's your AM next game week? So yeah, if they reach the final and they hold on against Liverpool, I'd probably go to Emery. Sorry. No, I'd go to... It's between Ange Postecoglou and Marco Silva. I mean, it also depends on if Arsenal double. If they doubled, I'd go for Arteta. But in the most likely scenario, which what you're presenting, I guess, I think I'd go for Postecoglou, but that's not locked in yet. Draw all games for Liverpool against Bournemouth and Liverpool? I don't think so. I mean, I'd be slightly happy from a non-FPL perspective, but it would kind of ruin my chip usage. In FPL Challenge, Pickford, Van Dijk, Trent, Mikolenko, Salah, Diaz, Gordon, Gakpo, Delap. Good stuff, Diana. Very, very good. We've got so many options at left back out. Yeah, Estupinian, Kadioglu, etc. Yeah, I quickly corrected myself after seeing the lineup because, yeah, I mean, ultimately you had 4 defenders, not 5. Only the casuals will be nailing the table bonus. For the most part, I think you're right, but there will be some kind of really good FPL managers, let's say, or consistent ones that will get it spot on. Play Rodgers or Clover, yeah, covered. Iraola could be an excellent AM chip differential if Bournemouth beat Liverpool today. I was going to highlight him before the breaking news yesterday. He was in one of my slides where I was going to highlight his free game weeks between 24 and 26. Table bonus against Liverpool if he gets a win or draw, and then plum fixtures against Wolves and Southampton. Casuals are like someone playing poker and not having a clue what they are doing. Yeah, and they get the beginner's luck, so to speak. It takes FPL, I think, around half an hour to update, so by 12 PM, well, actually, no. It should be updated by now, actually. But I'm not going to show you my team for next week. We'll talk more about that in future videos and live streams. If I'd bought in Gakpo before he had played, I would have kept him. Me, Dylan, and others at least got 1 game out of him. Yeah, exactly that. I think that did play a really big part, actually. FPL Challenge, Assistant Manager Moyes, same here. Just to kind of like, if David Moyes ends up being really good, at least I can do somewhat well in FPL Challenge. Good idea again, man. Thank you, the GOAT Lionel. Thanks for the advice. I appreciate the kind words and good luck for the rest of the season. Davo P says, I bought in Pickford and Boomer and Vissa over Sanchez, Kulusevski and Mateta with free transfers. Yeah, I like all of the moves, to be fair. And I think ultimately Mbuma and Vissa are long-term investments. I would prioritise Game Week 24 and 25 doublers first, but I still think it makes sense. Do you reckon Slot will come on and get a Van Persie-style banging header? I mean, we've seen those, was it Arne Slot penitentiary clips and stuff? Maybe. Who knows at this point. Vardy having a party today. I mean, yeah, that would be good for the assistant manager perspective. Thoughts on Moyes to Emery / Silva and then Aina to Kirkus for free. That defender transfer looks spot on. And if Liverpool double next week, of course, you've provided both scenarios. So, yeah, Silva's okay. I don't know. I slightly prefer Postecoglou right now over Marco Silva, but that's my current thoughts. I might feel differently as we get closer to Game Week 25. I think Emery would be my preference, assuming that Liverpool reach the final. How many matches does Gakpo play in the next 3 game weeks? I think he starts 4 of the next 5 matches, basically, if Liverpool double next week. Going to Brighton versus Chelsea in the Cup. Hope we stuff them and in the league. Well, good luck. Hopefully you can have a nice Cup run. Should be interesting, at least. If Slot loses versus Bournemouth, I'm laughing. Well, I'd laugh, well, maybe not laugh, but I'd be happy, in terms of the league table and opening up the title race, but FPL-wise, it would be a disaster. I mean, look, they're still next week, right, with a double. So if Slot loses against Bournemouth, beats Everton, and then gets wins against Wolves and Villa, it's still a good use of the AM chip. But I get what you're saying. The FPL Challenge I did show earlier, Diana, and your squad is looking good. Of course, you said you got Moyes as your AM assistant manager. Thoughts on buying Kluivert, replacing Gordon, and bringing in Gakpo? I'm not sure about buying Gakpo in Game Week 25. I like him against Wolves at home and potentially Villa away. So fair enough, but you probably want to sell him shortly afterwards to Vissa or another striker. But yeah, overall it's good moves, and I like Kluivert a lot. If I didn't have Semenyo already, I'd be looking to buy Kluivert in 25. Was removing Virgil to AM Slot for a mistake? I think it's the right decision, but it's really close. They're all good options. Van Dijk in a double is always very solid, but I would favour Arne Slot. Thoughts on Slot to Silver home, to Forest, and also potentially Spurs? I might still ask you for better clarity. Yeah, I get that. It's probably best to talk about this in a few weeks' time as we approach Game Week 25, but for now, it's a very decent strategy. And if it's Liverpool reaching the final, you would probably move to Emery instead, actually, or just keep Arne Slot in that case. I think that'd be the best thing to do. Postecoglou is also a decent one in that case of Spurs reaching the final. And obviously, Diana asked about my FPL Challenge team, just to show you one more time. I've currently gone for Pickford, Trent, Virgil van Dijk, Tarkowski, Salah captain, Diaz, Palmer, Mbeumo, Gakpo, Ndai, and Moyes. Originally, I had gone for Slot with Isak instead of Gakpo, but I wanted to cover David Moyes in one way, shape, or form. So I'll probably stick with that. I can't guarantee it with FPL Challenge. You can still make changes afterwards. So yeah, that is my provisional Game Week 24 challenge team, let's say. See if I can... Yeah, well, something like that is absolutely fine. But yeah, it has been a good stream. Almost 3 hours, by the way. Last night it was 2 hours and a half, so yeah, there could be another one today, but I'll keep you posted on that. There is a lot of content, of course, a lot of things to talk about in FPL and UCL Fantasy. Matchday 9 content will return for you very soon for the knockout playoff rounds in UCL Fantasy. Keep your eyes peeled, like the video if you enjoyed it or found it insightful, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a single upload or live stream. You can also follow me on X, Instagram, and Blue Sky by typing DylanRCM or FPL Dylan. Also join the Discord server, FPL League. Check out Draft Town, which is a great resource, as well as my Spotify. If you want to support the channel even further, it's patreon.com/DylanRCM. Thank you to those that have signed up already and all the members. I gifted 10 memberships today, and I do so every single month. And it's just been a pleasure talking to all of you, answering a lot of good questions. Thank you, Pieter, and enjoy the membership. Good luck to everyone, as you say. I think Branthwaite is a safe option, yeah. I do prefer him over Mikalenko, but there is the question of budget, so that's why I went for the Ukrainian left-back in the end. Yeah, I think City vs Madrid is obviously a big match. I have to say, though, we have seen that fixture a lot in recent seasons, so I'm a bit numb to it. But the fact that one of them will be eliminated before the knockout stages is obviously very intriguing, and we'll see how that plays out. It's so funny because I was thinking of playing Moyes, but when DCL got injured and also the chip became viable due to Double Gameweek 25, I chickened out. I don't think it's bad logic, though, from you. And you also mentioned McNeil being injured. That's a massive blow to their creativity. I still think Moyes can get the job done in at least one of the next 2 matches, but I don't like him for Gameweek 25. I really don't. And Gameweek 26 against United, there are better options. That's why Arne Slot for me is the better choice. I might be wrong about that, though. It's something I said even before the news broke out, or when I discussed Arne Slot versus David Moyes. Honestly, I think they're both good options, and you can always swap Moyes to Slot in Gameweek 25 or to a different doubler once we get those confirmed Carabao Cup finalists and their respective Gameweek 29 opponents, who would blank, of course, and have that fixture brought forward to Gameweek 25. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the football. I'll see you very soon, hopefully for a reaction stream tonight or tomorrow. I'll keep you posted, and more UCL Fantasy and FPL content is headed your way. And hopefully I'll see you very soon for this piece of content. Keep on joining the Discord server and all of that good stuff like I mentioned before. And let's see what happens in Double Gameweek 24. Take care.